Hello everybody and welcome in under the lights here at Michigan Stadium for WCBN Sports broadcast of Michigan football. I'm Austin Falco, alongside me Nate Sorensen. Later on you'll hear Alex Drain and Grace Boyles bringing you tonight's matchup between two ranked teams, number 12, the Michigan Wolverines, and the 15th ranked, the visiting Wisconsin Badgers. Nate, we were talking a little bit before the game, a couple keys to look out for. Wisconsin, very much like a Michigan team in which they want to run the ball. They have big guys up front. Wisconsin even more so. And a bit of a change from what we normally have seen from Wisconsin. Normally a dominant defense versus a bit of a lackluster offense. Kind of a flip this year. You were talking specifically about just both sides of the ball. Wisconsin, though, still very handsy in true fashion, as they've been for years and years and years. Yeah, handsy's the best way to describe it. The most polite way, I would say. This team likes to hold their offensive line. They're absolutely dominant. They've got absolutely huge guys. They're behemoths, yet they will still grab and try to get away with as much as they can holding on the offensive line. Same goes for those defensive backs. They will grab every wide receiver off the line, and I can't blame the strategy. It's much like the Seattle Seahawks do in the NFL. If you grab and hold a guy every single play, the refs are just forced to not call it every time. It would just completely slow the entire pace of a game to throw a flag every time, and that's what this Wisconsin team dares the refs to do. And we talked a little bit also, Michigan has gotten fairly unlucky when it comes to getting holding calls over the past several years with Jim Harbaugh here. A bit of a contentious relationship with Big Ten referees, to say the least. Something to look out for. Does Michigan get those calls or not when those handsy types of plays end up happening? Additionally, we talked a little bit beforehand also about Wisconsin's zone running scheme, and that might be a huge key to this ball game. It's going to be strength on strength, that Wisconsin offense versus the vaunted Michigan defense, and that zone running play is going to be pretty much what determines who comes away with the victory tonight. Yeah, it absolutely will. And typically you see a power running team like these Wisconsin Badgers, you'd think they're going to run exactly a gap blocking scheme where a team, the offense comes up to the line pre-snap knowing exactly where they are going to run the ball, whether it's off tackle, over the center, whatever it is, and they send as many offensive linemen typically pulling. They will try to get as many guys in that gap as possible to create a crease for the running back. Now, what Wisconsin does is zone blocking, where pretty much just on the line, every offensive lineman blocks whoever's in front of them. And it works so well for Wisconsin because they have so many guys who are definitely going to be playing on Sundays that can absolutely handle pretty much any defensive lineman one-on-one. And when those offensive linemen are handling guys one-on-one, they can pretty much do whatever they want. We'll cut away for a second for our national anthem. Michigan marching band with a stirring rendition of the national anthem, as always. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Nate. We were talking a little bit about Wisconsin and the run game.
Sure, and to expand on what I was saying there, yeah, these offensive linemen for the Wisconsin Badgers are pretty much just going to block whoever's in front of them, and they're not going to know exactly where the ball's going to be ran every time. It's wherever, pretty much they're just going to react to whatever the defense does. And if this offensive line gets good push, Wisconsin's running back Jonathan Taylor, and a guy who's had an absolutely stellar career here in Wisconsin, will have his pick of where to go, and he's excellent at that. He's a very patient runner. He will wait and see whatever holes open up, and this offensive line for Wisconsin will open up plenty for him here tonight.
We will be keeping an eye on that electric atmosphere here at the Big House under the lights. Not too often you get these night games at the Big House, but when you do, you can feel the tone and the general mystique around Ann Arbor. It's just a different feel, and you could definitely it's palpable here at the Big House tonight. So we want to thank you for listening in on 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor, or even if you're listening online at youtube.com/WCBN Sports, or on the website WCBNsports.org. If you're not doing the latter two, we encourage you to check those out for many of our other broadcast blog content, aside from football game like tonight. Looks like we're about ready to have the coin toss going down at midfield. Head referee, official Daniel Capron. As John Jansen and other members of the University of Michigan football alumni base are the honorary captains for the game tonight. Coin is up. Wisconsin with the call here. It appears Wisconsin won the toss, deferred. Michigan will receive.
Wisconsin has won the toss and elected to receive to start the game.
My mistake there. Wisconsin trying to get that vaunted offense on the field. We're going to get an early matchup here of the two strengths of both the Michigan and Wisconsin teams respectively. We talked a little in the pregame about Wisconsin and what we're looking for out of their offense, but now with the Michigan defense on the field, something to note, Nate, missing star defensive end / defensive tackle Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, huge loss for this Michigan defense. I think this team has played quite well in his absence. He's been banged up for a couple of weeks now, but they haven't played an offense as good as this Wisconsin offense. They're one of the best in all of college football, and they are going to attack this defensive line every single play. They've got one of the best offensive lines in college football. Maybe I wouldn't say there's really a discussion. They are the best in all of college football, and you need all the talent you can get on the defensive line. That's a huge loss for a Michigan defensive line that's already pretty low on numbers. Few guys banged up there, so big loss.
You mentioned that Wisconsin offensive line. 4 starters for Wisconsin's offensive line were all Big Ten players last season. They returned all 4 of those and go about 7 or 8 deep. It's not unusual to see Wisconsin trot out there with multiple offensive linemen just trying to overpower a defense. And it will be a little bit tougher for Michigan without one of their star players, Rashawn Gary. The towels up here at the Big House. 7 Nation Army blaring over the speakers. And we're about ready to kick off here. Michigan, Wisconsin, Saturday Night Football, WCBN Sports. Jake Moody to kick for Michigan. It's up, kicking right to left. It will go into the end zone, fair caught. Wisconsin will start at their own 25-yard line.
Yeah, and I'd expect to see Wisconsin just fair catch most of these kickoffs here tonight. As good as their offense is, they do not need to take risks on a kick return. They are going to get solid yards pretty much every time they get the ball.
2 players look out for Wisconsin. We mentioned Jonathan Taylor a little bit in the opening, the star running back. Their quarterback, Alex Honeybrook, not too shabby either. Has some fans across the football media world. Right off the bat, Michigan Stadium getting loud. The defense trying to get some noise in here. Wisconsin will start out in the offset eye. Taylor behind Honeybrook under center. Going in motion now left to right. Wisconsin hands off Taylor up the middle. He's got room. He cuts a little bit to the right out across the 30. Tackled around the 32-yard line by a combination of Josh Metellus and Tyree Cannell.
And great tackling there by Metellus and Cannell, because if he got through them, there was nothing but green grass behind him. That was pretty dangerous there for the Michigan defense. Right off the bat, Wisconsin going with some misdirection with the jet sweep, and they just found a crease right there inside, in between the tackles there. That just cannot happen for this Michigan defense.
Wisconsin comes out in the I formation. Tight end off to the right side. 2 wide receivers split out left. Honeybrook under center. Takes a look at the Michigan defense. Fullback goes in motion left to right. They hand off to Taylor again. He shuffles a little bit. Very patient runner. Gets out across the 35 all the way to the 38-yard line. That's a first down for Wisconsin.
And now this is exactly what you want if you're Wisconsin, to just be able to hand it off to your all Big Ten running back and let him get 6 or 7 yards every carry. This is Michigan's worst nightmare right now, to be able to run in between the tackles and get good yardage every time. this is where Michigan's defensive tackles have got to step up and just not allow those holes to open up.
The two Michigan defensive tackles starting out there, Kemp and Monet. Wisconsin again, offset eye, puts receiver in motion left to right. Going to turn around Hornibrook and hand off Taylor again, this time off the right side. He shuffles, gets out again for about a gain of 5 yards to the 43-yard line.
And there, good push by the defensive line. They're able to actually push their respective offensive linemen into the backfield. Devin Gill was just a little slow coming over, filling that hole, and it allows Jonathan Taylor to get good yardage again. I mean, even a 4-yard carry, it may not be a huge gain, but it just keeps the chains moving.
You mentioned Devin Gill there. It looked like Cole Van Lanen, listed as a backup for Wisconsin on the offensive line, was in there and cut Gill. Wisconsin once again comes out. They hand off. I think it's a backup now, Tyron Deal, and he gets stuffed in the line by the big defensive tackles of Michigan. It's Monet. Also went on the tackle, Chase Winovich.
Now in third down situations, this is where Wisconsin can get a little predictable. When they come out with their running back, Garrett Groshek, he's a guaranteed tell that they are going to be passing the ball, and when he's on the field, he normally gets the ball passed to him. So if he's in the backfield right now, that's what I would expect Wisconsin's doing.
We were wondering a little bit pregame what Michigan was going to do in these pass rushing situations with Deshaun Gary out. Looks like Josh Uche in at defensive end, a blitzing linebacker. Michigan looks to go man across the board. Wisconsin split out 3 wide receivers left to the right. Hornibrook in the shotgun, empty set, drops back, looks left, tip up in the air by Diamond Bush. It's caught by the Wisconsin receiver, but short of the first down marker. It'll be about 4th and 2. Michigan a little bit lucky there. Wisconsin got their fair share. Kendrick Pryor coming down on that one.
Yeah, Wisconsin was pretty lucky there too, and that's something Hornibrook will do. He likes to fit it into tight windows. As soon as he sees a window, he will try to fit it in there, and he just completely overlooked Devin Bush across the middle there. Lucky that Bush didn't get 2 hands on that and caught that one.
Anthony Lowdy, the punter for Wisconsin, trots out. He'll kick to Donovan Peoples-Jones for Michigan. Kicks it from the 35. Peoples-Jones runs over, tops, not to field this one. It bounces, goes out of bounds to the left side at about the 22-yard line. That is indeed where it's spotted. Michigan will get their first drive of the game just outside the red zone at the 22.
And now I'm sure many of you listening right now are kind of wondering, 4th and 1, right at the 50, why is Wisconsin, with this run game that just broke off 6 or 7 yards every run, not just run it right up the middle? You would think they would get at least 1 yard every time they run with those big fullbacks and offensive linemen. Well, that's just something that they just do not like to do. They will punt. They are very conservative. They do not like going for it on 4th down, and their punter is not the greatest. Now, forgetting his name, Anthony Lowdy. He can pin teams inside the 20, but he doesn't have a very strong leg. He is not going to boot it right down with inside the 5. I mean, not the worst outcome for Michigan to end up at the 20 right here, though. And really a terrific stand there by this Michigan defense to start off the game.
Strength versus strength. Now, it's kind of a faulty thing to say weakness versus weakness coming up here, but when it comes to 2 elite units like the Wisconsin offense and the Michigan defense, the other side of the ball just isn't going to match up. It isn't going to compare. This isn't necessarily a matchup we're looking for, but we kind of assume that both the Michigan defense and the Wisconsin offense are going to get theirs. They're going to have their own way at some points during these games. It's going to be out of these 2 units about to take the field, the Michigan offense and the Wisconsin defense. Another potential deciding factor in this game is which of those 2 units plays better.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I think it's safe to call this Wisconsin defense a weakness. So far they've been, maybe it's just because of the injuries, but they have been so battered. So many guys having to play, fill in for starters, playing in positions they're not necessarily comfortable with. For example, their defensive ends. Both of the guys that were projected to start got hurt in preseason. They have guys who are essentially nose tackles playing both defensive end spots, and granted it's deceiving. Wisconsin says they run a 3-4. It's really a 5-2. Their defensive ends are defensive tackles, so their guys aren't playing totally out of position, but it's not exactly their strength, and that's a big point where I think this Michigan offense can take advantage. Their interior defensive line is just not the best, and we know that this Michigan offense can really get some good push in the run game.
Worth noting, Wisconsin has dealt with several injuries, as you mentioned, all across their defense. Isaiah Loudermilk, one of the guys coming into this game, during the week we thought might have a chance to play, is out on the D-line for them. And we got word Dakota Dixon, the starting safety, all Big Ten first team last season, out for this game as well. So yet another weakness on that Wisconsin front for Michigan to potentially take advantage of, especially with their other starting safety, Scott Nelson, suspended for the first half of this ballgame.
Yeah, huge loss in Dixon for this Wisconsin defense, especially because their secondary is so weak. He is really the last line of defense for this defense most of the time. The only way I could see this being maybe a bit of a plus for Wisconsin is that Seth Curran's backup is 6'3", whereas Dixon's 5'10", and the strong safety is going to be the guy checking Zach Gentry most of the time here, a 6'8" behemoth. Maybe having a 5'10" guy over the top of him isn't the best.
Gentry is on the field for Michigan's first play. He's off on the left side. Michigan's also another tight end, 2 wide receivers split out right. Now going in motion right to left is Donald Peoples-Jones. Patterson drops back, looks to his right, finds the other receiver over there who is pushed out of bounds. That's Nico Collins, gain of 5 yards. Pushed out of bounds by, I believe that was Duron Harrell.
Now, I'm surprised to see Michigan go through the air on their first play. And I'm even more surprised to see them go to Nico Collins on anything but a 50-yard deep bomb. When's the last time he's ran anything but a streak down the sideline?
Michigan now comes out single back set, wide receivers on each side, tight ends on each side, Higdon in the backfield behind Shea Patterson. Faking the jet sweep to Ambry Thomas, handing off to Higdon is Patterson. Higdon gets out across the 30-yard line, just barely though, so it'll be about a 3rd and 2 to go for this Michigan offense.
And now 3rd and short is where Wisconsin struggles. They are simply not strong enough on the interior defensive line to stop offenses from just going right up the middle. And guess who Michigan has on the field right now? Ben Mason, the one and only. I wonder where Michigan's going with this football.
It's Higdon behind Shea Patterson in the pistol formation. Now
I'm
Higdon goes
mistaken.
to his left. No Ben Mason, the big fullback for Michigan yet. In the shotgun here, Patterson hands off to Higdon up the middle. Higdon plows through a big pile, gets out 1 more yard than he needed there. 3-yard gain to pick up the first down, Michigan.
That's telling. Michigan doesn't even need Ben Mason to just go right up the middle and get sure yardage on a 3rd down. That says something about Jim Harbaugh's confidence in this offensive line.
Ben Mason did just come into the game, though, potentially a lead blocker as they split Higdon now out to the left along with Donald Peoples-Jones. Off to the right is Collins along with Gentry. Higdon now comes to the backfield to join Patterson and Mason in the shotgun formation. Going in motion right to left, Gentry. Patterson takes the snap, fakes the handoff to Higdon. Now looking downfield, doesn't find anything he likes, tries to scramble away, and he's taken down right at about the line of scrimmage. Not sure if that'll go down as a sack. It was close. Looked like Matt Henningsen.
And that looked like Shea Patterson just kind of panicked a little too much on that one. The defender got in his face, but he was able to sidestep. There was still a pretty clean pocket there. If he had calmed down and just looked downfield, he might have been able to still get a pass off.
Looks like he had Zach Gentry open for a split second there. Michigan now comes out 5 wide, 3 to the right, 2 to the left. Patterson all alone in the shotgun. Checking the play at the line of scrimmage. Now drops back to pass, looking to his left. Now about to scramble. Finds some room at the middle. Shakes one tackler, but is brought down by Ryan Connolly, one of the star middle linebackers for Wisconsin, after a gain of about 4 yards. Be approximately 3rd and 7 here for Michigan.
There again, Shea Patterson tucking the ball, trying to run. There was only a 3-man rush there from Wisconsin. Shea had 0 pressure on him. He just simply decided to tuck and run before I can believe he went through all of his progressions there. I'm surprised to see a guy who's been so reluctant to tuck and run be so quick to do that early here in the game.
Patterson again alone in the backfield here. 3 split out right, 2 to the left. Grant Perry goes in motion right to left. Patterson now looking off to the left. Finds Donovan Peoples-Jones right around the first down marker. Peoples-Jones fights for that extra yard he needs and picks my first down to the 45-yard line of the Wolverines.
So far, so good for Michigan. They just keep being able to consistently get yards when they need it.
Peoples-Jones fights. He looked like he caught that ball about 1 yard short of the first down marker, but just able to hold off Faden Hicks long enough to stretch that ball across, pick up a couple more yards, and keep this drive going for Michigan. Patterson in the shotgun now. Mason and now Higdon join him in the backfield. 1 wide receiver to each side. Gentry also going right. now go over to the left side. Patterson fakes the handoff to Higdon. Drops back to pass, looking downfield, now scrambling off towards his right. He's got room around the corner, but has an open receiver. It finds Higdon at about the 40-yard line of Wisconsin. Incomplete. Incomplete. The referee's rule. It hit the ground. Higdon does not agree.
And I don't know if they're going to maybe review this one, because Higdon seems very adamant that he caught it.
Oh, they changed the call. One of the other referees saw something. They're giving Higdon the catch here. He was going to the ground, diving, trying to make the grab. So there was a little bit of doubt. Michigan now hurrying up, trying to get back to the line of scrimmage. They're in the huddle.
Replay here. Yeah, Higdon clearly caught that one.
Clear catch there. Big pickup for Michigan. They're in business in Wisconsin territory. First team to cross midfield. And now Patterson comes out in the shotgun again. Higdon to his right. 2 tight ends, 2 wide outs, 1 to each side. Giving out now to Higdon is Patterson. Higdon bounces his way out towards the left side. Only picks up a gain of 1. Looked a little indecisive there on what hole exactly he wanted to hit.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot open there for him. But I've been very interested so far in seeing what Michigan has done pre-snap. They have had at least one guy shift or go in motion nearly every play. They're almost looking like the Maryland Terrapins that we saw last week. They do that very effectively, trying to confuse defenses that way. It looks like that's part of Jim Harbaugh's plan here today.
Patterson again in the shotgun here. Higdon to his right. Patterson drops back to pass, looking to the right side. He finds Nate Shanley out there, or rather Oliver Martin. Oliver Martin out across the first down marker, out across the 30-yard line. He picks up a gain of about 11 yards and keeps the chains moving for Michigan again. First down at the 28 of Wisconsin.
Now going into this game, I thought Michigan was going to try to take it on the ground, take advantage of this weak interior defensive line of Wisconsin, but they are deciding to go up against these corners, and so far it's been working so well because these Wisconsin defensive backs are just giving so much cushion to the Michigan receivers. They are playing so far off. You can get a quick little out route for about 6 or 7 yards every time.
Joe Milton comes into the game. Now the fans rise to their feet. Milton runs here behind Ben Mason, is stopped in the backfield, though. It looked like both the Wisconsin linebackers, after some disruption by the DN, T.J. Edwards and Ryan Connolly in on the tackle. A little bit different look there. Joe Milton, the redshirt freshman, into the game.
Very surprising. A guy who Michigan fans have been clamoring for, have been very excited to see his progress, but very strange to bring him out right there to just run a straight QB draw. Very shocked to see Jim Harbaugh go with that one.
Ends up being a loss of 1 on the play, and now Patterson's back in for Michigan. They come out 5 wide again, 3 to the left, 2 to the right, including that tight end Gentry in the slot to Shea's right. Patterson drops back to pass, looks to Gentry, finds him over across the 25-yard line, but he's wrapped up and brought down pretty quickly. Eric Burrell, the safety taking over for the suspended Scott Nelson, brought down Gentry after a gain of about 4, maybe 5 yards, and Michigan has 3rd and 6 now.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Michigan go through the air again. Quick little out route to Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe.
Michigan comes out bunch formation, 3 wide receivers to the left. Now it's Perry going in motion left to right. Now it goes back to join his other receivers. Patterson drops back to pass, looking at that bunch on the left. Doesn't find anything he likes. He's trying to try to scramble and run again. Patterson quick to tuck it today. Only picks up 1 yard before being brought down. It was Connolly on the stop along with Andrew Van Ginkel. And Michigan looks like they're going to settle for a field goal here on their first drive of the game. Just under 5 minutes to play. Michigan doing exactly what they wanted there. Grind a lot of time off the clock. Keep that Wisconsin defense on the field. Before Queen Nordine now comes out to attempt what's going to be a 41-yard field goal from the right hash. Cheeseman, the snapper. Will Hart with the hold. Everything's good, and Quinn Nordine misses it right. Nordine couldn't quite yank that one far enough, and Michigan comes away empty on their first drive of the game, just as the Badgers did. With 4:28 to play here in the first quarter, the score remains Michigan 0, Wisconsin 0. You're listening to WCBN Sports Radio's broadcast of Michigan football.
Yeah, and Quinn just missed that one. And you wouldn't necessarily ever say a 40-yarder is a gimme, but in a game like this, you know it's going to be close. It's under the lights. Wisconsin themselves has an absolutely terrific kicker who's just about as automatic as a college kicker gets. Those are points you just cannot leave on the table. That might be one that comes back to bite Michigan, much like Quinn Nordine's misses against Notre Dame did week 1 of the season.
It's been a bit of an issue for Nordine this season. It's just inconsistent. Rather last season as well, too. He's capable of hitting a couple 50-yarders as he did in the season opener last year, the first Michigan player ever to hit multiple 50-yarders in a game. But then, as you mentioned, just misses in spurts, it seems, at times. That Notre Dame game earlier this season. So far, Michigan hopes this doesn't start another one of those spurts where Quinn just can't quite seem to get anything on target. He has plenty of leg. We know that. He has one of the strongest legs that's ever come through here as a kicker at the University of Michigan. We saw him in warm-ups hitting 65-yarders with ease, plenty of distance to go. But for whatever reason, when it comes time to get a little bit closer, Quinn, I don't know if it's getting in his head or if he's something off with mechanics. I know there was a little bit off with the snaps and holds in warm-ups. Might want to have another look at that. We'll see if we get a replay to see if there's anything wrong there.
And it is tough from the right hash. Obviously, college has the wider hashes. You know, you've got to kick to the left. Most right-footed kickers prefer to kick to their right. Instead, it's kind of a weird, you got to like hook the ball almost. But still, that's something. Quinn Nordine was one of the top kicking prospects Michigan's ever gotten to come, and you just expect those are ones he's going to make. But we'll see how that affects the rest of this game. But so far, I would say that drive was a success for Michigan. Wisconsin starting with not great field position. Michigan proved that they can move the ball consistently. They could pick up third downs. Did they get 2 or 3 on that drive?
I believe Michigan on that drive got 4 first downs. 4 first downs for Michigan on that drive compared to just 1 on Wisconsin's first drive.
Yeah, and 2 of 3 on third down. You know, overall, you just really like what you see out of this Michigan attack so far.
Yeah, those first couple drives went almost perfectly for Michigan, aside from the lack of getting points on the back end there. And now we'll see the 2 high-profile units come back onto the field. Michigan defense, Wisconsin offense. The big house once again gets loud. Plenty of maize and blue in the crowd. Some smatterings of red as the crowd below us at least rises to the feet, joins the students. Wisconsin comes out. 2 receivers to each side. Hornibrook fakes the handoff to Taylor. Now passing, going over the middle and making the grab out there was Pryor. First down for Wisconsin, or rather Danny Davis out to the 35-yard line. Little easy play action to get Hornibrook his second completion. The first one was a tipped one that just happened to land in the arms of Kendrick Pryor.
Yeah, Wisconsin is very successful on that play action. Their ground game is so good, teams have to respect it every time they fake it.
Wisconsin bunch sets on each side, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 on each side. It's Taylor in the backfield who takes the handoff from Hornibrook, makes a man miss out on the left side before plummeting forward to the 39-yard line. 4-yard gain for Wisconsin. It'll have second and about 5.5.
And Jonathan Taylor showing you why he's one of the best in the Big Ten. He's just so patient the way he runs. He's able to go from full speed to absolutely no speed at all, and at the drop of a hat, he was able to just absolutely freeze Brandon Watson on that one.
Wisconsin, same formation here for the 3rd time with a receiver on each side and a tight end on each side. Taylor in the backfield behind Hornibrook. Little misdirection right, now goes left. Taylor shakes the tackle there. Of Devin Bush gets out across the first down marker before being brought down by Josh Metellus.
And there, not many people shake a tackle from Devin Bush. He is one of the most sure tacklers in all of college football. He's one of the strongest, fastest guys, and he just could not wrap up Jonathan Taylor there. He's absolutely putting on a heck of a performance so far here in the first quarter.
Yeah, Devin Bush really upset with him after that when you saw him visibly just pound the ground, upset with them for missing that one, but you are going up against, as you said, first-team All-Big Ten, potentially All-American running back in Jonathan Taylor. Wisconsin now comes out in an I, 2 receivers split out to the right, fullback in motion towards the left, handing off, going up the middle now as Taylor tries to stand up a man, and it brought down by a host of Michigan Wolverines. They swarm to the ball after a gain of about 1.5 yards.
Now, I'm not sure who it is at the bottom of that pile. It looks like it was Tyree Cannell coming up from the free safety spot to meet Jonathan Taylor at the line of scrimmage and sticks him right in his tracks. That's not something you normally see out of a free safety.
Excellent play there by Tyree Cannell. If Taylor had gotten through him, there was a lot of green grass to run. Did not happen, though, and a 2nd and 9 upcoming for Wisconsin. 2 receivers split out to each side. Hornibrook in the backfield shotgun, off to his right, 1 running back. He drops back to pass, looking over the middle and finds his man. It's a big tight end out over there. That's Jake Ferguson, who gets just enough for a first down at the Michigan 44-yard line. Kalik Hudson on the coverage, the Viper there. A bit of a size difference on that one. Jake Ferguson, a big tight end for Wisconsin.
Yeah, he stands at 6'5" and he is the pass-catching tight end. When he's on the field, he's not really there to block. That's what Kyle Peniston is for. Jake Ferguson's out there to catch the football and move the chains, and that's what he did right there.
Wisconsin comes up I formation, tight end to the left, two receivers to the right. Honey, but play action fake. Now looking off to his right before he sees some pressure and throws it behind the aforementioned blocking tight end Kyle Peniston.
And Hornibrook had plenty of time to throw there. Finally, he just held on to the ball so long. He did end up taking a hit from Josh Ross, but that's one there. Hornibrook, if he's got that much time to throw against this Michigan defense, they've got to capitalize. That's a big missed opportunity for the Badgers.
2nd and 10 for Wisconsin at the Michigan 44. 1:18 left to play here in the first quarter. Wisconsin comes out two split out right, one to the left, tight end, and a fullback in the backfield with Hornibrook. Hornibrook hands it off now, or rather a little scat back there, swallowed up around the line of scrimmage by a host of Michigan Wolverines led by Chase Winovich, the star defensive end.
Yeah, and Groshek getting the carry there, that is not normally his station. He is a pass-catching back first and foremost, kind of like a James White, to give an NFL comparison. And to see him run in between the tackles, very surprising to see out of this Wisconsin team. It sets up a 3rd and long here, really a head-scratching decision.
3rd and about 7 for the Wisconsin offense. The big house getting loud. 3 receivers split left, 1 to the right. Running back in the backfield, it's Groshek next to Hornibrook. Hornibrook's halfback back, looking right, feels some pressure, shakes the tackle of Monet. Now looking around, but cannot escape the tackle of Devin Bush, who brings him down on the backfield for a 1-yard loss. And Wisconsin will trot out the punt unit yet again here with just 20 seconds left in the first quarter. I'd imagine they'll probably take it to the end of the first quarter before booting this ball away.
Dr. Blitz is in the building. Don Brown dialed it up there, and Hornibrook really had no chance but to tuck and run and just hope he could get some positive yards. Unfortunately for him, Devin Bush was waiting for him. That play had no chance from the jump.
Michigan here is going to be forced to call a timeout with just 1 second remaining in the first quarter. They didn't have the right personnel on the field. We're about to get caught with a too many men on the field penalty if Wisconsin had snapped the ball. I don't know if Wisconsin would have had time to snap the ball there. As I mentioned, that clock was ticking down, just 1 second left.
Yeah, it's too much to risk there. If the ball's moved up another 5 yards, I don't think Wisconsin will go for it, but they could try to trot out their kicker. I keep forgetting his name, but he is a very good kicker, very consistent.
Rafael Gaglianoni, second team All Big Ten last season.
Yeah, and one of the best. He very consistent. He did have one big miss that killed them against BYU, but other than that, he is very consistent. They might have tried to pull out the field goal unit to try and kick a long one there. That's just too much risk for Jim Harbaugh, apparently. That's why he had to call that timeout.
Yep. As you mentioned, one miss on the season only for Gaglianoni. He's 5'6", the 5th-year senior out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Has not missed an extra point also, which is something in college that you necessarily don't have to take for granted. We've seen it already with Michigan at times and Quinn Nordine. But as you mentioned, I don't think Wisconsin would have trotted out the field goal unit on that one, but there was theoretically a chance. They're sitting right now at the Michigan 44-yard line roughly, maybe the 43. You're still looking at a field goal that's upwards about 55 yards. It would have been a bold call, and as you talked about before, Wisconsin not really one to make those bold calls too often.
Very true. But if anyone's going to be able to go out there and kick a 55-yarder, it's Gaglianone. So I understand the idea there. Again, their punter, Anthony Lottie, not the greatest, and giving him another extra 5 yards probably wouldn't be ideal, though.
Donovan Peoples-Jones hasn't left the field waiting during this timeout. Just standing back there at his own 15-yard line. Now, if you're Michigan here, Donovan Peoples-Jones in the past, at least last year as a freshman, and maybe a little bit early on in this season, had some trouble making decisions when to exactly catch punts, when to return, when to fair catch. I don't know in this situation, Nate, do you think you would have any specific instructions for Peoples-Jones, any yard line, maybe put your heels on the 10 and don't catch anything that's back there? Any sort of situation that you think would be beneficial with a punter like Lottie, who we mentioned not necessarily the best, an electric returner like Donovan Peoples-Jones, even with this short field?
Yeah, I would expect Donovan Peoples-Jones to stand at the 10. Lottie doesn't kick many touchbacks, but if it gets inside the 10, there's really not a whole lot you can do. You just got to let the ball land, hope it rolls into the back of the end zone. With the short field, you got to expect Wisconsin's going to be able to get the Gunners down there to pin them inside the 5-yard line. But again, it's not a guarantee that Lottie gets it inside the 10-yard line. It's either he's kicking it into the end zone or he kicks it to about the 15. It's not a lot of in between.
He'd be kicking from the right hash here at about his own 45-yard line, boots it away. Peoples-Jones looks like he's going to try to feel this one, waves his hands for the fair catch. Now fakes out the Wisconsin defenders. Ball bounces and sticks right about at the 15-yard line. So that's where Michigan will take over. When we get back, because that is the end of the first quarter of action, the score still sits Michigan 0, Wisconsin 0. A really fast quarter there, a lot of running clock. Different ways, too. Wisconsin obviously pounding the ball. They've already got 9 rush attempts to just 4 pass attempts in this ball game. Michigan, meanwhile, a little more balanced, 7 rushes, 5 passes, and a couple of those rushes were Shea Patterson getting out of the pocket on pass plays. They're being very much efficient in the pass game, keeping the clock running. I don't know if that's necessarily something that favors Michigan in this game, because Wisconsin would very much like to slow the pace down as an underdog, as a team that has concerns about their defense potentially.
Yeah, that is one of Wisconsin's go-tos. They want to have the ball as much as possible. They like to dominate the time of possession, running the ball, just grinding down opposing defenses, just trying to kind of suck the life out of D tackles, having to get hit over and over again by those big 330-pound monsters. And so far, Michigan's just done a good job getting them off the field, and it goes to show, that Michigan's being aggressive, they're blitzing, but they're doing it with precision. They're doing it with savvy. They're able to make those big plays without getting gashed, and that's going to be a big thing for Michigan. They just cannot sit back and let Wisconsin march down the field. They're going to have to be aggressive, dial up blitzes to get them off as soon as possible.
The faster you get the Wisconsin offense off the field, the faster you can try to put drives together like Michigan did on their first and only drive of the day. They ate up almost 7.5 minutes worth of clock, have split the time of possession so far in this first quarter. Wisconsin has the edge by approximately 12 seconds. Difference, Wisconsin did that on 2 drives. Michigan was just that one long drive in which they looked very, very good, very efficient. As I said, Shea Patterson 5 for 5 on his pass attempts, 46 yards. So far, a lot of those quick little out routes and hitch routes seem to be working against these Wisconsin secondary players, cornerbacks and safeties that probably aren't up to snuff.
Yeah, they've had a lot of injuries with the corners. They're pretty undersized, and they seem to be content just laying back, letting Michigan just get these short gains without giving up any big ones. They've clearly seen how well Shea Patterson can throw downfield. He likes to take shots with Nico Collins running down the middle of the field, and they look like they're content just letting Michigan dink and dunk down the field, which I would say is a plus for this Michigan offense. Maybe they aren't going to get many big plays, but if they can dominate the time of possession, that's a big edge against this Wisconsin Badgers team.
Yeah, Wisconsin was trying to play a little bit of a bend, don't break type of style with the, as you mentioned, giving up those little 5-yard chunks to Michigan. But in the end, standing tall when they needed to, they prevented Michigan from continuing their drive, settled for a field goal try, which was a 41-yarder, ended up being pushed wide right by Quinn Nordine. Michigan will look to get a little bit more on their next drive as they trot out. They're going to begin at their own 14-yard line.
And it is worth mentioning, Wisconsin does have one of the best red zone defenses in the Big Ten. How much is that luck? Who knows? But it says something. They managed to shut down Michigan in the red zone. That should be a matchup we should keep an eye on going forward.
Patterson comes out in the pistol. Higdon behind him. 2 wide receivers to the right. A tight end on each side. Handoff now to Higdon. Shea Patterson keeps it. Goes on the left side. He's got plenty of room. He's at the 30, the 40. He's across midfield trying to be chased down there. Big block. Patterson at the 30, the 20, 15, 10, 5. Pushed out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. Shea Patterson with a 70-plus yard run on the first play of this second quarter.
And this looks like a completely new Shea Patterson than what we've seen through the first half of the season. I have been wondering this, through the first 6 weeks. Why does Shea Patterson not tuck the ball and run? Well, so far he's been doing it plenty here today, and it's just taken this Wisconsin defense completely by surprise. And I would like to point out there, Sean McCune chased him all the way down the field, giving him some big blocks, extending that play. Absolutely love the hustle out of that guy.
Michigan comes out in the pistol at the 5-yard line. Higdon behind Patterson and moves to his left. A receiver and a tight end on each side of the formation for the Wolverines. Patterson now hands off to Higdon, going up the middle. Cuts off to the left, all the way down to about the 2-yard line. It'll be second and goal.
Yeah, surprised to see Michigan try to run it out of the shotgun there. Here inside the 5-yard line, that's when you like to see Ben Mason come out on the field, bring out the 2 tight ends, give Wisconsin a little taste of their own medicine, try to power it in between the tackles here.
Michigan again, that same formation, pistol with Higdon behind Patterson, wide receiver on each side, tight end on each side. Higdon again coming to Patterson's left. Patterson checks the coverage, now moves Higdon off to his right side. Wisconsin, a lot of guys up into that box there. 9 guys in the box trying to stop the run. Doesn't matter though. Michigan hands it off to Higdon, and into the end zone goes Karan Higdon. Touchdown, Michigan. They hop out to a 6-0 lead.
Now, I have no idea what just happened on that play. Now, it looked like a bit of a read option between Shea and Higdon there, but the mesh point just never ended. Shea ran with his hands in Karan Higdon's arms all the way into the end zone there. Looks like they both scored that one. I guess Karan gets it.
Do we give an honorary touchdown for Shea Patterson holding Higdon while holding the ball in the end zone? Does that count as anything?
They each get half a touchdown in my mind.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. Make sure you mark that down in the stat books. Half a touchdown each. Regardless, though, Quinn Nordine knocks through the extra point here, and the score 7-0 Michigan. 13:33 to go here in the second quarter, and it was all set up by that big long Shea Patterson run of 81 yards.
And that was a big thing. Everyone, or I guess I can't say everyone, a lot of Michigan fans were wondering after that huge Christian McCaffrey run that did get called back. Which game was that now? Was that against Maryland or?
I think that was Northwestern.
Against Northwestern,
yeah,
correct.
Northwestern.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big run that was called back. People are saying, why do we not see that out of Shea Patterson? Well, guess what? There it is. He can do it. They've just been saving it. Again, Shea has been saying they've only used 1/3 of the playbook. They've been keeping some cards hidden up their sleeve. Well, they just showed one of them right there. That was an absolutely spectacular play from this Michigan offense.
And it wasn't necessarily anything too complicated. It was a simple read option. It looked like all the linemen, the tight ends, down blocking away from where Shea Patterson ended up running around that corner to the left side. Just a pretty simple play. Got the Wisconsin linebackers to bite, though. Those 2 notable guys in the middle, T.J. Edwards and Ryan Connolly, flowing off to what was their left side while Shea Patterson ran across to the right side. The only thing saving a touchdown there was number 5 for the Badgers, one of their backup cornerbacks, who hasn't seen much time this year, Rashad Wildgoose. Chased Patterson all the way down the field and was just able to get him out at the 5-yard line. Looked like Patterson might have been running a little bit out of steam there. He is still a quarterback, not necessarily used to running those distances, but still an electric scene. The entire stadium rising to their feet, cheering on Shea Patterson. It's an atmosphere you don't get very often here at the Big House under the lights, but it is something to behold. And we're glad you're listening in on 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor to WCBN sports coverage of Michigan football.
And you're not kidding about, this isn't a scene you normally see at Michigan Stadium. Michigan, there have only been 5 games under the lights here in the Big House. Michigan is 4-1 all time. That one we're not going to talk about, but Michigan has
last year. Last year, not the best game. But
if you remember it, you know what, you just keep it to yourself. But
so there was a lot of rain involved.
Sure, but Michigan, under the lights, has produced some absolutely great memories. A couple of those games, at least, coming against Notre Dame. How can anyone forget that electric comeback by Denard Robinson that was capped off by a touchdown with time expiring by Roy Roundtree over a Notre Dame cornerback? Absolutely just one of the best moments in my time as a Michigan football fan. It's great to see this Michigan football team giving fans just a little bit more to remember here.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that Roy Roundtree touchdown in the end zone off to our right. The end zone, Conrad Higdon just plunged in for on a 2-yard touchdown run to give Michigan a 7-0 lead. Those end zones painted blue now. They weren't back when Roy Roundtree caught that touchdown pass. And new this year, instead of just the maize Michigan lettering, there's a blue background on it. I think it looks fairly sharp.
Absolutely. The bolder the better, I say, as far as fields go. I'm not sure I would like a Boise State all-blue turf, but the end zones do look mighty sharp, in my opinion.
And we got word from our WCBN correspondent, Morris Babry. It looked like on that play, we said we weren't quite sure what happened. Shea was trying to pull that ball, Shea Patterson from Higdon. Higdon wouldn't let him. So that's why we got that awkward kind of double touchdown run. It'll be Jake Moody kicking off for the Wolverines from the right hash. Boots it near the 10-yard line, is run up and caught by a Wisconsin player, spins around. He has room on the left sideline though, comes out across the 25, is tripped up by his own man at about the 26-yard line and falls forward to the 29. So what started out as a bit of a disastrous start from Aaron Cruikshank.
Yeah, I cannot believe he was able to stay on his feet there. It looked like he almost fell on his butt there, which would have obviously downed the ball. I'm surprised to not see Jim Harbaugh kind of get a little bit more animate, saying he might have been down there.
Looked like he did a leg sweep or something to stay up there. Wisconsin now comes out offset I, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, fullback, running back. They hand it off to Taylor, going off the right side, makes a man miss, but cannot shake the tackle of Brandon Watson, who brings him down after a pickup of about 4 to 4.5 yards there. It'll be second and somewhere between 5 and 6 yards.
And now this is not a position Wisconsin wants to be in. Being down, no matter how many points, it's just not comfortable for a run-first team. They run the ball about 60% of the time. When you're behind, you need big plays. You need to get points on the board. Not a lot of teams can do that, just grinding it out.
Wisconsin going back to that tight formation with 2 wideouts, 2 tight ends on each side of the formation, and Taylor behind Hornibrook under center. Hornibrook turns around, hands off to Taylor, going up the middle. He cuts, breaks the tackle there, pushes his way out across the 40-yard line. Still not down, still pushing forward, almost to the 45, tackled at the 44. And a big scrum there led by Devin Bush and Kalik Hudson.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic work and hustle there by Jonathan Taylor, pushing a pile. And a lot of that credit, though, has to go to the offensive lineman behind him pushing. That's just how special this Wisconsin run game is, that they just never quit. They just keep pushing. That is remarkable.
Same formation for Wisconsin. A wide out and a tight end on each side, tight to the formation with Taylor behind Hornibrook. Hornibrook turns around, Wisconsin pulls, hands off Taylor, he cuts right, he's going out the right sideline, he's got room, comes out across the 40, fighting with Josh Metellus and pushed out of bounds at the Michigan 33-yard line, or 34-yard line. Taylor finding a lot of room to run and making Michigan pay for it here on this drive.
Yeah, and great work there by Metellus just to get Jonathan Taylor on the ground. He's a guy that's gotten a lot of grief from this Michigan fan base so far in the season, but so far here today, he's made some pretty key plays to keep Jonathan Taylor from breaking off some really long runs.
Wisconsin once again comes out in the offset I, a wide receiver split to each side. I believe that's the backup there, Taiwan Deal, giving Taylor a rest. They'll hand it off on the jet sweep, going around the edge and finding room on the left side, down to the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Wisconsin. Did he stay in bounds? He did. That's a touchdown Wisconsin. A.J. Taylor with the end around from 33 or rather 34 yards out. Wisconsin now an extra point away from tying this ball game up. 11:26 to go in the second quarter.
Yeah, Wisconsin does not typically give it on the jet sweep there. It's normally used as just a decoy, but right there, done to great success. Normally, Michigan's defensive ends are good enough to step up, keep contained. They just got blown off the line right there. They had no chance of stopping that play.
Rafael Gaglianoni just about as automatic as it comes. 22 for 22 on extra points this season, make it 23 for 23. And that ties the ball game up at 7 apiece. And suddenly the mood in the stadium takes a sudden downturn as opposed to the electric atmosphere it was just a couple minutes of game time ago.
Yeah, and I was just saying how a team that goes on the ground has a hard time getting big plays, getting points up on the board quickly. Well, how's 4 plays in 71 yards in 2 minutes of game time for getting points on the board quickly? Man, that's a big blow to this Michigan defense. That was a chance for them to come out, make a big stand, to get the ball back into this with this Michigan offense with a 7-point lead. A bit of a backbreaker right there.
Yeah, and it was A.J. Taylor who got the touchdown run, that long 33-yard touchdown run, but hard to say that it wasn't all about Jonathan Taylor setting up that run. 3 just grinding runs of various difficulties. The first one, more of just finding your gap, hit it, 5-yard gain, then fighting through tacklers, pushing the pile forward, cutting in the hole, bouncing it outside. He's showing why he is regarded so highly in draft circles and around the NCAA in terms of All-American buzz and hype.
Yeah, and I was a bit skeptical that Jonathan Taylor was going to be able to have a ton of success against this Michigan defense. And Wisconsin's really their only 2 tightly contested games against BYU and Iowa. He put up nearly identical stat lines, 25 and 26 carries respectively, 113 and 117 yards, and 4.5 that comes out to the average each carry, and 0 touchdowns between those 2 games. I expected to see a line a bit more like that here against Michigan, but so far he has just been gashing this Michigan defense. He's already got 9 carries, 67 yards. That's an average of 7.4. I expected this Michigan defense to be able to clamp down, keep him contained. They just simply have not been able to do it so far, and he's been doing it just by being patient, finding the right holes, and just by simply overpowering some guys. It's been a really impressive display from him so far, but you just kind of expect a little bit more out of this Michigan defensive front.
They are a little bit short-handed on that defensive front, as we talked a little bit before the broadcast. Rashawn Gary not in the lineup today. We did see Aubrey Solomon, who we didn't necessarily expect to see this early on, got hurt back in fall camp. Is making his return to the lineup. We've seen him in there for a couple series, swapping time with the likes of Michael Dwumfor, Brian Monet, and Carlo Kemp. A couple of those have also had a bit of nagging injury problems. Perhaps starting to show itself here. We're only in the second quarter, but Michigan's going to need to shore up, especially where the middle, right where Taylor was getting a lot of his money, if they're going to have a shot to really stick in this and prevent Wisconsin from doing exactly what just happened.
Yeah, and going into this season, everyone knew that this Michigan defense's biggest task was replacing Mo Hurst, and granted they haven't been able to do it completely, but so far this season they've done a pretty good job filling in through their committee of defensive tackles, but so far it hasn't been enough for a dominant offensive line like Wisconsin's.
Zach Hinsey kicks off for Wisconsin. It'll go into the end zone, and Ambry Thomas for Michigan lets it bounce. The Wolverines will start at their own 25-yard line here, trying to answer that quick Wisconsin strike. Last time Michigan was trapped back in their own end, they responded by the first play, an 81-yard run from Shea Patterson to set up a Karan Higdon touchdown plunge just a couple plays later. We'll see if Michigan tries to maybe go back to that sort of offense, more of the read option, get Shea Patterson involved on the ground. They'll come out with 2 wide receivers, 1 on each side, 2 tight ends, 1 on each side, tight to the line. Ben Mason in the backfield to Shea Patterson's left. Patterson in the shotgun, motions Ambry Thomas over, flips it to him. Ben Mason lead blocking out there, misses the block. Thomas fights forward, back to line of scrimmage before being wrapped up there. It looked like Ryan Connolly flying out from his linebacker position, or rather TJ Edwards to make the grab.
Yeah, Wisconsin was just not fooled by that one. They had plenty of guys over there stretching out the line of scrimmage, and surprised to see Michigan go with the jet sweep there. Again, they've been so successful running the read option, passing the ball. Weird to see a jet sweep going into the boundary to start off a drive.
We talked about a couple returns from Michigan. Chris Evans getting his return here. He's in the backfield next to Shea Patterson. Now he motions off to the left. They got 3 wide receivers right. Shea's all alone in the backfield now. Takes the snap, looks left for the screen perhaps to Chris Evans. Now throws back to the right. Donovan Peoples-Jones on a little in route. Can't make the play as he dives. Try to make the grab at about the 35-yard line. That'll be incomplete and bring up a 3rd and long for Michigan.
And Shea Patterson had plenty of time to throw there. He just threw that one a little low. And it's been very surprising to see how often Michigan's gone with an empty backfield for Shea Patterson. That was something you would never dream of this Michigan offense doing last year with as much struggle as they've had in pass protection, I should say, but they have been able to head off this Wisconsin defensive line and really allow zero pressure on Shea.
Shea Patterson takes the snap in the shotgun, looking over to the left. It's down on Peoples-Jones, rather off to his right. Peoples-Jones tackled at the 30-yard line. It would only be a pickup of 5. They needed 10, so that'll be a 4th down. Great tackle there in the open field made by Darren Harrell to get the Michigan offense off the field and the punt unit onto the field.
And absolutely inexcusable right there. Michigan throwing it 5 yards downfield when you know the sticks are 10 yards away. Absolutely terrible play called there and execution. That was a tough break for Michigan here.
Will Hart boots it to Dunn for Wisconsin. He catches at his own 22, runs out across the 30 to the 35, pushed out of bounds at approximately the 37-yard line. So favorable field position here for Wisconsin, exactly what they want when they play their normal conservative game, at all predicated on field position. They have some extremely favorable field position to start off the drive here in the second quarter with just 10 minutes remaining.
Now we're going to have to see what this Michigan defense can do. How will they respond after that dominant drive there by Wisconsin? Just able to run right down the field about as easily as possible. It's got to start with this Michigan defensive front. The interior defensive linemen in particular, they just keep running it right up the gut, and Michigan has no answer so far.
Something worth noting also on the other side of the ball, we just saw the Michigan offense come off the field after a Wisconsin defensive stand. Something worth noting that I've at least noticed early on here, Wisconsin, a lot of 3-man rushes. We talked about Shea Patterson having a lot of time to throw the ball. Part of that perhaps because Wisconsin's only rushing 3, dropping extra linebackers back into coverage to maybe to try to help out with a secondary that we mentioned is a problem spot for Wisconsin right now with all the injuries and the suspension to their starting safety.
Yeah, and that's not a huge surprise. Normally they come out in that 5-2 front and rush all 5 guys. They don't typically blitz or get any more aggressive than that, but Michigan just keeps coming out in those shotgun formations, and it's forcing Wisconsin to go with, looks like it's more of a 2-4-5, I would say, but strange to see Michigan not come out and try and take advantage of the fact that Wisconsin is not sending a lot of guys, trying to run it more. They're getting almost a little bit too much in love with the passing game, it seems like.
And coming out in that shotgun that Michigan has been coming out and trying to spread Wisconsin even thinner than they already are, perhaps setting up a few more shotgun runs. You mentioned earlier on they were running the shotgun, or running out of the shotgun near the goal line. Perhaps part of a longer plan here, maybe lull the Wisconsin defense into playing out wide, forgetting about the running back and the run threat. Of course, a little bit harder to do now with Shea Patterson reeling off that long 81-yard run to set up the touchdown. Back to the unit we're about to see come on the field, though, the Michigan defense and the Wisconsin offense. Last drive, it was Jonathan Taylor who was pounding Michigan up the middle, taking advantage of some rather wide holes, a couple of them a little bit smaller with great moves made by the All-American candidate Taylor. Set up a 33-yard end-around touchdown to the wide receiver, A.J. Taylor. They like their Taylors up in Michigan, or up in Wisconsin, rather.
Yeah, it's been surprising to see this Wisconsin offensive line sending a lot of pulling guards into holes here. Not something Wisconsin normally does. They just kind of stay in place, block their zone, but it's been working with great success so far here in this first half.
Wisconsin will come out here looking to take the lead at 7-7, 10:01 to go. Wisconsin comes out offset I as they have in most of their drives, sends the receiver in motion left to right. Hornibrook turns around, hands off to Taylor at the middle, big hole. He plows forward across the 40-yard line, shakes the tackle, keeps fighting for more yards, gets all the way out to about the 47, 9-yard gain on first down, sets up a 2nd and short for Wisconsin.
And right there, Michigan defensive tackles just got blown up right there, and there just cannot be that wide open of a hole right in the middle of the field. Jonathan Taylor's going to get at least 5 yards out of it every time, and right there made this Michigan defense pay.
Again, the same formation offset I. Hornibrook fumbles the snap. It's on the ground. There's a fumble there. It looked like Hornibrook hopped on the ball. He did. Almost disastrous for Wisconsin just when it looked like their offense was humming along. Hornibrook covers it up at his own 45-yard line. It's going to be a loss of about 2 yards. 3rd and 3 to go.
Hornibrook's lucky he got on it when he did, because Devin Bush was just a split second behind him there going after that ball. And that is a problem for Wisconsin. They do turn over the ball a little too often. Normally it's Hornibrook trying to fit the ball into too tight of windows, throwing interceptions, but they cannot afford a miscue like that, especially in enemy territory.
Wisconsin spreads it out, 2 wide receivers right, 1 to the left. In the backfield now, Hornibrook looks, he's facing an on-looking blitzer, and down he goes! Josh Uche sacks a 10-yard loss on Alex Hornibrook. As you mentioned, Dr. Blitz dialing it up again on a huge 3rd down, and Michigan's going to get their defense off the field with a 3 and out.
That fumble was absolutely disastrous for Wisconsin. Still on a 3rd and short, I would have expected them to just run it there. They seem to get at least 5 yards every time they run the ball. It was only a 3rd and 3. They didn't really need to pass the ball there, but if they are passing, Michigan's going to send a blitz and make them pay.
Michigan's had to lie on the punt block there, and there's going to be a flag called. Anthony Lottie went down to the ground. Peoples-Jones fields it back at his own 22-yard line, approximately 25. Gets it out across the 30, but not much of a gain. We're going to see what the flag is here. If they hit the plant leg, that's 15 yards and a 1st down for Wisconsin. Looked like a bit of a flop to me. Anthony Lottie really leapt forward there after kicking. They might call it here on Jordan Glasgow. Waiting for the official word from our head referee, Daniel Capron. Got a little bit of a discussion here. I'm assuming it's running into the kicker, only 5 yards, based on the amount they're asking head coach Paul Christ from Wisconsin if he wants to accept the 5 yards.
Defense number 29. The penalty is declined. 1st down.
So Wisconsin opting not to re-punt. They'll just take the ball where it lies. Michigan will take over at their own 32-yard line.
And Michigan is very fortunate right there. They went all out trying to block that punt. They got very close, but you gotta just hold back just a little bit. Now, thankfully, that was only called a running into the kicker there, because that would have been absolutely devastating to prolong this Wisconsin drive, especially as good as they were looking. They were really only upended by that fumbled snap there. If it hadn't been for that, Wisconsin might have been putting more points up on the board there.
Yeah, Wisconsin, and worth noting on that fumbled snap too, Hornibrook had time to fumble it, look around and locate and hop on the ball, because up the middle, Michigan again not getting much pressure. Most likely would have been a 1st down if he was able to turn around and get that ball to Jonathan Taylor. He only needed 1 yard. Instead, it put Wisconsin back to 3rd and 3. And again, a little questionable not to see Wisconsin go back to the run. They were having so much success with it. It's only 3rd and 3, but you mentioned the lack of aggressiveness and sometimes falling into predictability, the offensive play calling for Wisconsin.
Yeah, and typically you do see teams come out and throw on 3rd down, but nearly every team has a breaking point. However, whatever the yardage is, on 3rd and 3, for a team like Wisconsin, that should be running territory. I would say their breaking point should be around maybe even 3rd and 7, where they switch to passing. 3rd and 6 seems like running the ball territory for me if I'm calling plays for this Wisconsin offense.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor averaging 7.6 yards a carry in this one. He's only got 10 carries for 76 yards. Granted, there's a couple of longer ones in there, the 23-yarder being the big gain of his on the day, but for the most part, he's just grinding out these yards every time. It seems almost silly not to give him the ball in a 3rd and short situation in such what has been a pretty critical 3rd down early in this ball game. Both teams had just scored. Momentum is flipping back and forth. Wisconsin had a chance to really take hold of it, put together a long drive, make this place get awfully quiet. Instead, they did opt to pass. Dr. Brown, Don Brown, or Dr. Blitz, Don Brown, Dr. Brown. We call him Doc, it works. Doc Brown, there you go. Doc Brown dialing up the blitz. It was Josh Uche, who again we mentioned subbing a little bit for Rashawn Gary as a blitzing linebacker, a blitzing end, just came unblocked off the left side and took down Hornibrook relatively easily and relatively violently as well. He threw him down to the ground.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this Michigan defense needs to do. They're not going to get pressure just sending 4 guys. This Wisconsin offensive line is just too good. And really, if you're going to take a risk, I would bet that Hornibrook's just not going to burn you deep. If you're going to have to pick your poison here, that's the one you want to take if you're the Michigan defense.
We will resume play here. Michigan taking over at their own 32. 2 receivers split out right, 2 tight ends to the left. It's Chris Evans in the backfield next to Shea Patterson. McEwen goes in motion left to right. Handing off now, or rather faking the handoff is Patterson. Throws off to his right side, finds Nico Collins at about the 40-yard line. He fights for a couple extra yards, but can't shake the tackles there of the Wisconsin defenders. Comes up just shy of a first down, 9-yard gain out to the 41. Again, attacking Duran Harrell out there is Michigan. They've gone at him a lot with Nico Collins and a little bit down on Peoples-Jones to varying degrees of success early on in this one.
Yeah, Wisconsin just has so much inexperience in their secondary. Pretty much all their corners are either redshirt freshmen or sophomores. They are looking like they're struggling a lot.
Shea Patterson now turns around, hands the ball off in the pistol formation to Chris Evans. He fights forward for about 2 yards, but that's enough to pick up a Michigan first down out to the 43.
Michigan still staying in the shotgun, or rather more of a pistol look right there in the ground game. Not a whole lot of going under center with the fullback, Ben Mason, the pride of WCBN sports, I would say. Not a lot of playtime for him here today, something I did not expect to see.
Michigan's got 3 receivers split out in a bunch formation to the left. Now motions Gentry over towards the right side. Patterson fakes the handoff to Higdon. Now going deep down the sideline, he's got a wide open Devin Eubanks at the 40-yard line of Wisconsin. Eubanks makes a man miss, goes out across the 30-yard line and tackled at the 29. First down Michigan, big pass play, and again exploiting that secondary of Wisconsin. They left Eubanks wide open deep down the left sideline.
And right there, Michigan going under center, faking the run there, and you can tell Wisconsin, they see Shea Patterson go underneath the center. They're thinking Michigan's going to run the ball, and they absolutely burned him on that one.
Michigan comes out now, 2 wide receivers, 1 to each side, a tight end. Ben Mason in the backfield to Shea Patterson's right, Higdon off to the left. Now it's Ronnie Bell going in motion right to left. They hand off to Higdon, goes off the right side, tries to fight forward, only gets about a yard. Tackled at the 28-yard line of the Badgers.
It's surprising to see Michigan still just cannot get anything going on the ground now so far. And other than that long run for Shea Patterson, Karan Higdon's got 5 carries for 10 yards. That is just something I just cannot even believe, especially as weak as we expected this Wisconsin defensive front to be. I would have expected a lot more production out of them.
Shea Patterson's alone in the backfield now, 3 to the right, 2 to the left. He looks around for something, shakes the pocket, runs out to his right, but is tackled down there by TJ Edwards in the backfield. That's a big sack. Shea Patterson is not happy with himself. Tackle all the way back at the 36-yard line. That's a loss, or rather they're going to give him at the 35-yard line, give him an extra yard on that one for forward progress, wherever the ball was when he was first hit by Edwards.
And Patterson simply needs to throw the ball away there. And again, Michigan's offensive line is just doing such a stellar job. Wisconsin only sent 4 there, but the pass protection held up very well. Shea had plenty of time to throw, and he still couldn't find anyone after that long. You just got to get rid of the ball.
Patterson in shotgun, 4 receivers to the right, 1 to the left, or rather 4 to the left and 1 to the right. They throw to Nico Collins on the slant route out across the 25-yard line, but he is tackled right there, comes up about 5 yards short. Michigan is going to settle for another field goal try at about the 24-yard line of Wisconsin. This one right down the middle of the field goal, perhaps a little bit easier for Quinn Nordine.
And I am shocked to not see a flag on the field right now. Eubanks going across the middle of the field, and that is clear as day in my mind. Number 7 for Wisconsin. I believe that was Reggie Pearson, a backup safety, just hit Collins right in the head.
Nordine out for the kick. It's right down the middle this time. No problem here from about 40 yards out. Quinn Nordine gets redemption and puts Michigan ahead here 10-7 with 4 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in the second quarter of action.
Man, that one was ugly. A bit of a kind of a wounded duck of a kick right there. He's lucky that one just kind of curved in between the uprights right there. That was a pretty fortunate one for Quinn Nordine.
You mentioned earlier in warm-ups there was something that just not looked quite right with the snaps, the hold, and the kicks of Nordine, perhaps translating into the game this far. Nordine now 1 for 2 on field goal attempts. Michigan would prefer to be up 6, but they'll just take the 3 points for now and take that 3-point lead going into the end of the second quarter here, or rather approaching the end of the second quarter. Wisconsin will have a chance with 4:12 remaining to try to answer at least that field goal, if not do more.
Yeah, this is big for the Michigan defense. If Michigan can hold on to this lead and then get the ball to start the second half, that would be a huge win here for Michigan as a whole. Absolutely a picture-perfect result of this first half.
Jake Moody to kick off for Michigan, though. Aaron Cruikshank back for Wisconsin. Had a bit of a trouble with the last one. Moody boots this one deep. This is going to go into the end zone, it looks like. Cruikshank fields it and then falls down. His blockers, they were telling him to stay in the end zone anyway. Almost disastrous. He almost tripped and fell. Might have hit the ball back if he had been able to regather himself.
And he's very fortunate he was in the end zone for that one, because he was going on his knees one way or the other. Very lucky he didn't just kneel on the 5-yard line instead. That was a big break for this Wisconsin team.
A little questionable. Might have been better off just calling for the fair catch there. The new rule in college, if you fair catch within the 25, you get the ball out at the 25, trying to reduce some of those injuries on kickoffs. Wisconsin offense retakes the field in I formation. 2 receivers split out left, 1 tight end to the right. Hornibrook turns around, fakes the handoff to Taylor. Now looking off to his left, and it is knocked away and picked off by Josh Metellus. He's at the 40, the 30 of Wisconsin. Ranging around, he's got blockers down to the 15. Interception for Michigan, and they're set up in the red zone here. With 4 minutes to go in the second quarter, it was tipped up by David Long and picked off by Josh Metellus.
And more questionable play calling for Wisconsin. Why on earth are you throwing the ball on first down, as successful as they have been running the ball so far today? And there he goes, Hornibrook. He just tries to do a little bit too much. Squeezes. I don't know where he was going. There were 2 receivers in the area. But Watson is able to get his hands on it, played the ball perfectly. Tip drill there from Metellus. And I said this before. I tweeted right at him. When is Jim Harbaugh going to make you the punt returner after his pick 6? That was a pretty nice return right there for him again.
Michigan now comes out in a single back formation. It's the big fullback Ben Mason behind Shea Patterson under center. Michigan motions 2 tight ends off to the right side. They got a wide receiver split out left. Patterson turns around, fakes the handoff to Mason, now rolling out to his right, looking for a receiver downfield, and throws it away before he taking a sack on that one, perhaps learning from his past mistakes just to drive and go.
Yeah, absolutely learned his lesson from before. Maybe that thrown ball could have come a little bit sooner. He was already halfway on his way to the ground by the time the ball was released. But strange there, bringing in Ben Mason as the lone back. Normally they just hand it off to him. With the play action, it almost looked like Shea looked back at him after the fake, like they might have been trying to do a bit of a screen there. I never saw Ben Mason turn his head to look at Shea, though. A strange miscommunication there.
Michigan comes out in the pistol, and Shea Patterson turns around, hands it to Karan Hagden, who's swallowed up by T.J. Edwards, the All-American candidate linebacker. Gain of 0, and Michigan has 3rd and 10 now at the 15, in danger of once again stalling out here in the red zone.
Yeah, Michigan's had struggles inside the red zone this entire season. Something about this red zone, I don't know if it's in their heads or it's the play calling, but they just cannot manage to break through.
4 receivers split out left, 1 to the right for Patterson. Patterson now looks to the left, goes to the right. He's throwing a fade route for Nico Collins, who tries to jump over his man, but it is incomplete. Knocked away there.
And now that's two big plays in a row on 3rd down that the refs have held in flags. I think on that one right there, Collins was interfered with there. The corner.
It looked like Harrell was on coverage there, the one they've been picking on for most of the game. Collins had a shot at it.
He never turned his head to look back for the ball. He had his arms right in Collins' chest. That looks like textbook pass interference to me.
Quinn Nordine will come out for approximately a 33-yard try. He'll hook it through the uprights this time. A much smoother looking kick, and it'll be 13-7 Michigan after Quinn knocks through his 2nd of the ball game. But again, a disappointing end for Michigan. Once again, stalling on the red zone. The 3rd time they've gotten close and just haven't quite been able to string together a couple more plays and punch it in order to give them what could be a much more comfortable lead.
And we mentioned before the broadcast started here, what are the penalties going to be like? So far, not a single flag has been thrown. Well, there has been the one. It was declined, the running into the punter there, which again, itself was a pretty conservative call. It could have been a roughing the kicker. These refs are playing it about as conservatively as possible, letting these guys play, but that definitely plays into Wisconsin's favor, and I really think it has so far.
And worth noting before Alex Hornibrook of the Badgers take the field again, I think I might have diagnosed a little bit what happened on that interception setting up that Michigan field goal. We'll get to that in a second, though. Jake Moody's going to kick off here for Michigan. Aaron Cruikshank back again. His heels on the goal line. Moody boots it. It's going to come down relatively close to the goal line, but a fair catch called for, as you mentioned, last kickoff by Cruikshank. Wisconsin will get the ball out at the 25-yard line.
He actually fielded that one cleanly, and he might have had some space to run, but I don't know. That definitely the safer call there for Cruikshank. He's been struggling so far, but we'll see what this Wisconsin offense does here. Only 3 minutes left on the clock. They again were able to, their one touchdown drive, they were able to get down the length of the field in only 2 minutes of game time. They certainly have the ability to bust off big plays here. I'd be curious to see if they try to go through the air or just simply run the ball after seeing Hornibrook struggle there on that last drive.
They're in the offset eye, put a receiver in motion left to right. They give it to Taylor going up the middle. He is brought down after a gain of about 3 yards, yanked back by Kalik Hudson. And going back to the last drive that ended in the Hornibrook interception on the first play of the drive, it looked like Michigan showed man coverage the entire time. At the last second, David Long broke off his man and went to what would have been an open tight end, open target for Hornibrook. Didn't expect that little bit of a zone man mix-up there from Don Brown. He's dialing up all the classics today. Hornibrook now in the shotgun, takes the snap, rolls out to his right, tries to fire one in, and knocked away by Josh Metellus. It would have been a first down had the receiver for Wisconsin been able to get a hold of it. Looked like A.J. Taylor.
And Josh Metellus just continues to add to his impressive day. He has been probably the most improved player on this defense from the start of the season until now. So far, he's been an absolutely key piece here for Michigan. Big tackles, the big interception, now a big pass breakup. I love to see it.
Not a single person sitting down here on 3rd and 7 for Wisconsin. They got 3 wide receivers off to the left, 3 to the right, 1 to the left. Hornibrook drop back to pass. We got a flag before the snap, though. I think we're going to have a false start. Wait for the call.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, number 6, 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
False start on the receiver, Danny Davis there trying to get a little head start. And if you thought this place got loud just then, it's about to get a whole lot louder. The entire Michigan sideline waving their hands up, trying to get this capacity crowd well over 110,000. I'll just say it right now. Don't even have to announce it.
And you knew Wisconsin was passing before. They have no chance now. I'd love to see what Don Brown cooks up here.
Only sends 4. It's a little screenplay though, and it's tipped away. Incomplete pass. Michigan getting off the field yet again. Wisconsin shooting themselves in the foot a little bit with that false start penalty. Going to be 4th and about 13. Michigan's going to have one more shot to put some points on the board before halftime. Just 2:26 remaining in the second quarter. Noddy out to punt for Wisconsin at his own 10-yard line. Peoples-Jones at his own 35, ready to field it. We'll see if Michigan sends the house like they did last time, trying to get a block. They do not. They back off several men. Peoples-Jones going to get a chance to field this one. He's got to go way back. Field it at his own 25. He starts left, cuts up the middle, bounces out to the left side. He's going down the sideline. He's at the 40, the 50. Tries to make a bad miss. He does it at the 50. Takes a shot. Shakes the tackle yet again and goes down just across the 50-yard line at the Wisconsin 49. Big punt return there, about 26 yards from Donovan Peoples-Jones.
And you talked about earlier Donovan Peoples-Jones, how he's improved as a punt returner in his decision-making. And, you know, that's always been the thing. It's his decision-making, because it's never been a question if he can return the ball once it's in his hands. He is absolutely electric. And even when he doesn't break it off all the way to the house, he just manages to make so many guys miss in space. He's able to at least get decent yardage and set up this Michigan offense, and he did just that right there.
Little 2-minute drill chance for the Michigan offense. They got 2 receivers split out to the right. They motion a tight end over there as well. Faking the handoff to Higdon is Patterson. He's looking down the field, looking deep. He finds a man on the sideline. It is juggled, then caught by Donovan Peoples-Jones at about the 32-yard line before stepping out of bounds. Little acrobatic catch, almost a pick there. The cornerback closing in. Nonetheless, a first down for Michigan down to the 32 of Wisconsin.
We talking about Hornibrook making ill-advised throws right there. That was a risky throw by Shea Patterson. It shows how much trust he has in Donovan Peoples-Jones. They've had absolutely a tremendous connection here so far this season. Great to see a combination like that.
Michigan's got 2 tight ends right, 2 receivers left. Faking the handoff now in the backfield is Shea Patterson to Higdon. He's bouncing around now, trying to shake the pocket. It's stripped by Ryan Connolly. Fallen on by Sean McEwen, but that's going to go way back to where Michigan just started the drive at about the 47-yard line. Ryan Connolly, the star linebacker, one of 2 star linebackers for Wisconsin, was able to get some penetration on Shea Patterson, chase him down, and strip the ball on a strip sack. Michigan now going backwards in the wrong direction. They got a second and very long. It's 2nd and 25. They'll come out 4 wide receivers, 2 Shea Patterson's right, 1 to the left. He's on the left hash in the shotgun formation. Patterson looks around, surveys the coverage. Perhaps changing protection. Wisconsin's trying to rush 4. Shea Patterson just straight up runs with it. It's a QB draw. He's bouncing it off to the left side and chased out of bounds by Connolly after a pickup of about 6 yards down to the 41.
And not a bad play there. Gets Michigan to a 3rd and reasonable. Still very long, but a lot less daunting than a 3rd and 25.
And perhaps close to Quinn Nordine's field goal range. We saw him knocking 65-yarders in warm-ups. As you mentioned, a little bit shaky tonight, but perhaps worth a shot if Michigan can pick up maybe another 5 to 7-ish yards, not necessarily having to get all of this 3rd and 18 back. They'll come out with 3 receivers split out to the right, including a running back Higdon, 1 off to the left. Gentry in the slot for Shea Patterson. In the shotgun, he drops back, looks over the middle, finds Nico Collins going right over the middle of the field for a gain of only about 4 yards to the 36-yard line of Wisconsin, and we'll see if we're going to get Quinn Nordine or if Michigan's going to try to punt this ball away. Content right now with running the clock down are the Wolverines. It's 26 seconds and counting. Wisconsin has 3 timeouts. Michigan has 2, neither side calling any of them. We can get this down to halftime if Michigan wants. They're going to huddle up, perhaps maybe try to throw something into the end zone here at the very end of the half.
I'm having a hard time spotting Quinn Nordine on the sideline, if he's standing near Jim Harbaugh or not.
Looks like he's standing a few feet away, getting himself psyched up. I don't know if he got the okay. Jim Harbaugh going to the official now and calls timeout with 1 second left on the clock. Almost came close to getting it with 0 seconds. The clock shows 0 seconds right now. Michigan did get the timeout.
Please reset the game clock for 3 seconds. Charge timeout, Michigan. Their second. This is a 30-second timeout.
And I think that was the smart play by Michigan there, just going with the short little pass over the middle of the field. They picked up a few extra yards. Not that Quinn Nordine can't make it from about midfield, but makes it a little bit easier. And I think the biggest point of concern for Nordine is left to right. If he can hit it just straight, and it looks like he's going to be able to practically hit it dead on here, a little bit right of center from the middle of the field goal post, but much more reasonable than trying to kick it from the hash.
We know he's going to have plenty of distance on this kick. He always does, setting up for what looks to be about a 54-yard field goal at the end of the half here. Wisconsin not even bothering having anyone back. They know Quinn Nordine's going to miss. If he's going to miss, it's going to be wide. He's not missing short. Cheeseman ready for the snap. Will Hart, the punter, is the holder for Nordine. The snap, the hold, the kick. It's long enough. Does it have the accuracy? It does not. He hooked it wide left, pulled it just a bit too far that time. We mentioned earlier on he left one off to the right. This time just yanked it a little bit too far left. Quinn Nordine now just 2 for 4 on field goal attempts, and Michigan holds just a 6-point lead going into halftime here. Under the lights at Michigan Stadium, the score, Michigan 13, Wisconsin 7 on WCBN Sports coverage of Michigan football. You're listening on 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor.
And maybe it's a little unrealistic to expect a kicker to make a 54-yarder consistently, but that one came pretty close there. That's just another one. Michigan still has a 6-point lead, so it doesn't sting all that much, but if it comes down close here to the wire, this Michigan team is going to really miss those 6 points that they possibly could have here.
Yeah, right now just sitting at a one-possession game, and we saw Wisconsin, they're not normally a quick strike offense, but the way they've been running the ball, not out of the question for them to come out on any given drive, pound the ball a couple times, and put one into the end zone to tie this one up, perhaps take the lead if Michigan can't tack on any more points.
Yeah, definitely a team like Wisconsin where they run first and foremost. It's the difference between a one-possession and a two-possession game is everything. And if they feel the heat, they're going to come out and they're going to pass it. And we've seen so far what happens when Wisconsin tries to pass the ball. It's not pretty. That's what Michigan wants. And to only be up 6 points right now is not the ideal position.
And a couple of things to note. You said so far Hornibrook not pretty, and that's one way, a pretty accurate way I'd say to describe Hornibrook's first half. Just 3 of 7 passing the ball, 25 yards, and that interception. But we did see last year's game in Madison. Hornibrook did not have the good first 3 quarters or so before really turning it on. The difference there was one route that plagued Michigan a lot last year, and that was the wheel route against the safeties. This year, Michigan's done a lot to try to shore that up, so Hornibrook doesn't necessarily have that safety valve or that go-to if Wisconsin wants to get him really going in the second half.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with Wisconsin simply just doesn't go for those types of plays as often this year. They've been a lot more conservative. I believe they've only had about 4 plays, I think, over 30 yards on the season, which is a remarkably low number. I mean, we've seen it so far here. They run the ball not that often that you get runs over 30 yards. I mean, normally that comes through the air. It's just not something that's their strength. And I can't imagine Hornibrook's going to ever have enough time to throw here today to be able to throw it downfield as much pressure as Don Brown's bringing on him every time.
Yeah, whenever Wisconsin gets into an obvious passing down, like you said, Don Brown's dialing up some blitzes. He's getting to the quarterback. So far already on this one, Michigan 2 sacks for a total loss of 11 yards, but they're both in critical situations. One, the Josh Uche sack off the edge on the 3rd and short. Another big sack pushed Wisconsin back when they were driving the drive right after that. Just something to look out for in the second half. Does the Wisconsin front maybe diagnose the pressure a little differently? We know this offensive line is extremely good and talented. You have to imagine they're going to go back, look at some film from the first half, try to figure out any sort of keys that they can possibly find in order to diagnose this Michigan pass rush and these Michigan blitzes, try to give Hornibrook time, try to get him working in the passing game. But at the same time, Wisconsin's running the ball so well up the middle, it almost seems futile to try to get that passing game going.
Yeah, well, that is something, though. It's just going to happen. You're going to find yourself in a passing situation. And even as good as Wisconsin is running the ball, it's not possible to get a 3rd and 4 every single time. You're going to find yourself in a 3rd and 7, and that's when Michigan's going to dial up the blitz. And I don't know what Wisconsin really can do. I think Michigan simply brings more blitzers than there are offensive linemen. They've just got to have, the running back stay in, pick up a blitz. It's easier said than done, especially when Wisconsin on 3rd down likes to bring in Groshek. He's not a pass protection guy. He's a guy that wants to go out and catch the ball. So I don't know if Wisconsin comes out, they bring out their 7 offensive lineman sets. I know they've got them. They just, try to set up a wall and hope that 2 receivers can make a play. But as good as Michigan has been, bringing the pressure and as solid as their corners are, I'd imagine Don Brown is not going to flinch from that. Lavert Hill and David Long are about as good as college corners as you can get. And again, Tyree Cannell, Josh Metellus, they've both made some pretty big plays so far in this game. They've been kind of the weak point of this Michigan defense. I mean, that's not saying a whole lot to their detriment. I mean, this Michigan defense is just so good, even being above average, right, it makes them a weak point. But they have been very solid so far today, making tackles, breaking up passes. So I'd imagine Michigan's just going to keep bringing in the pressure and trusting their secondary to get it done. So far, they've done it.
You talked about that secondary a little bit. It was Josh Metellus that came up with the big interception, led to the Michigan field goal to put them ahead 13-7. On that play, it was David Long. You mentioned 2 of the best corners in the country, maybe the best corner tandem in the country, David Long and Lavert Hill for the Wolverines on either side. It was Long who made that play. He had his man going deep down the field on a go route, just straight down the left sideline. He peeled off of him at the last second, whether that was designed or whether that's just great instincts from David Long, rather. Yet to be seen. Maybe we can figure out something post-game if someone asked Don Brown about what that play call was, if it was a bit of a zone look, or if David Long was just doing unreal, instinctual things that we kind of, it's hard to say we expect them out of these players, but when they're that good, things just happen like that.
Sure, and David Long's a guy who's going to be playing on Sundays. Same goes for Lavert Hill. Maybe it is. I wouldn't surprise me one bit to think that he just made a heck of a play there, but that's something, again, you gotta know your opponent. I guarantee you these Michigan corners know that Hornibrook likes to take risks. They're going to bait him into throwing balls that are ill-advised. Play a half step behind, just knowing that you can make up that half step when the ball's in the air. And they did it to perfection right there. Absolutely a heck of a play by David Long.
And moving over to the other side of the ball now, Michigan coming up short in the red zone several times. Couldn't quite put any more points on the board other than the 13 they have thanks to missed field goals. Just drives stalling out in general. One of the bright spots, though, they have had success in chunks and getting into the red zone against Wisconsin without much of a run game, honestly. It's been mostly through the air with Shea Patterson making things happen. He's 12 for 15 for 120 yards and, of course, had that big quarterback keeper for an 81-yard gain. Worth noting, maybe Michigan tries to switch something up in the red zone perhaps, but I don't see much of a reason to maybe switch things up between the 20s.
Yeah, and I would think that switch up comes in the form of the power I formation. We just have not seen many runs from under center. It seems like every time they come out and Shea is underneath the center, there's only a lone back, and it's a play action. Pretty much every time. I guess I can't say that for certain, but it certainly feels like it. Every run is coming out of the shotgun or in the pistol, and it looks like a read option. I would love to see Ben Mason get some more time on the field, have him come in as a lead blocker. We know Wisconsin will load the box. They have that 5-2 front. Their linebackers are about as good as it gets. I mean, Edwards, that's another guy. I'm surprised he didn't leave after last year. He is a guy that could be playing in the NFL right now. It's not necessarily their weakest point, but you just expect, as good as this Michigan offensive line is at run blocking, as good as Ben Mason is as a lead blocker, and as good as Karan Higdon is running behind his pads, they would be able to get at least more than they have 2 yards rushing, not from that 81-yard run by Shea Patterson. That is just absolutely abysmal. Well, and counting sacks, I suppose.
Also, I think it's a total, out of the running backs so far today, Higdon and Evans, 8 carries for 13 yards. There's just been absolutely nothing going on the ground, and it could be, like you said, you're letting those middle linebackers for Wisconsin roam free with Connolly and Edwards, and if you let them roam free, they're going to make plays. They are probably one of, if not the best, middle linebacker duo in the conference, maybe the country. Like you said, Edwards could be playing on Sundays right now. Connolly's going to head there himself as well. They're extremely instinctual. They know exactly where to go, and maybe bring Ben Mason on, put a hat on him, try to open up something, clear at least one of them out of the hole, and try to get that run game going.
Yeah, especially we saw Iowa. Iowa is just like Wisconsin, I would say. They come out, they bring out the fullback, they want to run in between the tackles pretty much every time, and they were still able to get success against this Wisconsin defense. It's certainly possible. I would say this Michigan running attack should expect to do better than Iowa's. Just straight up. I mean, Iowa's not a bad team, but they're not the Michigan Wolverines. And we saw it a lot. I mean, especially Connolly. I mean, just watching the film on him, he's a guy that will read and key on the fullback almost to an extreme extent. He overplays, and I expected Michigan to come out, know that tendency, and kind of play that against him. Have the fullback maybe run away from the play side just to throw off the scent. But Harbaugh's just kept the fullback completely off the field. I expected. I don't know. I'm just surprised to not see Ben Mason be on the field more in this first half.
One play perhaps that had a lot of success back in the Nebraska game was Shea Patterson in the shotgun with Karan Higdon and Ben Mason both back there. Ben Mason would continually go back the backside, perhaps trying to take those linebackers away from where Karan Higdon ended up running right around the edge and having a lot of success. I don't know how much more, or if it will be successful against a front like Wisconsin's, but perhaps something worth trying, like you said. And as we approach the halfway point here of halftime at the Big House, we're about ready to turn it over. Nate Sorensen and I are going to hand over the headsets. We'll throw Alex Drain and Grace Boyles at you here for the second half. Going to bring you the action to conclude this 13-7 Michigan lead right now. But on behalf of Nate and myself, we just want to thank you for listening in and enjoy the second half of this ballgame.
Hello and welcome. I'm Alex Drain. Now jumping on the microphone from Austin Falco. Grace Boyles jumping on for Nate Sorensen. Grace, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing well. It was an eventful first half. Michigan leads 13-7 at halftime. What did you see in that first half?
I really saw Michigan's defense come out and control the game, especially the running game of the Wisconsin Badgers. But however, that doesn't make up for their lack of offense. A couple big plays, obviously, with Shea Patterson, and then obviously then Michigan's defense is helping out to their offense with the interception by Josh Metellus. The Badgers really need to come back out and work through that offense. They have Jonathan Taylor, who has been really solid throughout the first half, but he could be more of an impact player. Probably stay away from the passing, as Hornibrook has already thrown an interception, and that looks a little iffy for him.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor has been very strong in this contest, 11 rushes for 79 yards. Hornibrook only 3 of 7 for 25 yards. So certainly the rushing attack has been a lot stronger for the Badgers than the passing attack. So we'll see how they adjust that. For Michigan, Shea Patterson, very good, 12 of 15 for 120, at least through the air. I think there were some plays where he could have done more to throw it away and put himself in a few bad positions. He had a fumble there at the end of the first half that backed Michigan up quite a bit.
Absolutely.
He just seemed too jumpy to me.
He's starting to get back into his gunslinger mentality, getting confident, maybe a little cocky. He's made a couple great plays. It started with that the running play where he rushed for... Actually, I don't have that set completely up right here, but it was 80.
It was like 70 or something.
It was a good long run. And I think that kind of got him back into his gunslinger mode, kind of falling back into the pocket, extending a play, but ultimately getting sacked there a couple times. He definitely could have made more of an effort to throw the ball away, giving the Wolverines a better field position than what they got out of those opportunities, especially since the Wolverines are only up by, let me do my math, 6 points.
Yep.
And they could have used those scoring opportunities.
Yeah, quick game recap if you're just joining us. Michigan did not get the ball to start the game. Wisconsin won the toss and elected to receive. They punted after a few plays. Michigan drove very solidly on the first drive, 13 plays, 55 yards, but a missed field goal from Quinn Nordine. Michigan would get their first touchdown one drive later. It was an 81-yard run from Patterson. He got it down to the 5. Higdon pounded it in from 2 yards out for the touchdown, but then Wisconsin came right back. 4 plays, 71 yards, the touchdown by Kendrick Pryor, a 33-yard run around the edge on a jet sweep. After which, a couple punts, Michigan gets a field goal from Nordine, but it really felt like they could have gotten more. That was only on the Wisconsin 24, and then right after that, Wisconsin throws an interception. Michigan gets it on the Wisconsin 15, goes 3 plays, gains 0 yards, and kicks a field goal. There were just a few too many points left on the field by the Wolverines.
Absolutely. There's too many opportunities in the red zone where they let it go, their game go, and they would have to settle for a field goal,
which in some cases were not made. Nordine was only 2 of 4 in that first half. The second kick was a 54-yarder, that's a tough one to try and make, but a 42-yarder is well within his range, and he wasn't able to put it through. But Michigan will get the ball to start the second half, so they have an opportunity to go right down, get a score, and put themselves 2 scores up and really take command of the game.
That's very true. To take command of the game, take command of the flow. Actually, Michigan had possession most of the time last half, controlling the ball for 16 minutes, 59 seconds, about 17 minutes, with the Wisconsin Badgers only controlling the ball for 13 minutes and a second. A little different for the Wisconsin Badgers, who do play smash mouth football, who try to run it down your throat. They usually then eat up the clock, having the ball, having possession of the ball for that long is definitely a mentality thing. Like when the other team doesn't have time with the ball, it deteriorates their confidence for sure. So I'm sure the Wisconsin Badgers are hoping to get their hands on the ball a little more in the second half.
Yeah, and certainly if Michigan is able to get up 2 scores in this contest, then you'll really look to try and bleed the clock, take the full play clock on every play, try to run it down as much as you can. Worth noting, Jonathan Taylor, I think the one thing that impressed me the most about him in the first half was, he would get met 3 or 4 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he just kept driving. He was breaking tackles. He broke one from Devin Bush. He had a play where Hudson and Cannell were both trying to tackle him, and he just kept churning for 3-4 extra yards. He was a bowling ball in the first half.
Absolutely, no easy feat against a top-ranked Michigan Wolverine defense in the country. They have big guys, even with Rashawn Gary out for the game, not even dressed on the sideline. Michigan has been able to control that, but Jonathan Taylor's been doing just fine getting through some of those holes.
And certainly he's got a great offensive line in front of him. They've been very good in run blocking, able to create the holes. But in pass blocking, a little bit tougher. Hornibrook's been sacked a couple of times. Josh Uche's had a big game coming off the edge. Certainly in the third down situations, Michigan has really brought the heat, and it's been effective.
Absolutely, and I'm sure they hope to continue that. Continue their defense as well, but I'm curious to see Jim Harbaugh's adjustments coming into the second half. Alex, what adjustments would you make if you were Harbaugh?
Well, I think defensively you've been okay, certainly on the passing downs. Maybe try to put a few more guys in the box against Taylor and clamp down on the rush. I think it's just the offense that needs to change a bit. Some variation in the running calls would be nice, because Patterson, obviously the 80-yard run. Outside of that, though, Higdon, 7 carries for only 11 yards. Michigan has not been able to open up the holes on the edges. Their tight ends have had problems blocking the linebackers, so adjusting the running scheme. And also, you got to talk to Shea Patterson, tell him to settle down. If a rush isn't coming, there's no reason to leave the pocket, which he was doing a lot in that first half, panicking and rolling out when he still had time to throw. He needs to be more patient and more willing to throw the ball away if the rush does come.
Absolutely. Though a lot of his best game does come from the scramble. That is one of his biggest pluses to his quarterbacking. That's something that when he was being recruited out of high school, that was something that a lot of coaches looked at. So that could be used against him, as you are saying, Alex.
So I think he's absolutely mobile, and he's good at extending plays. I think the problem tonight has been that it's been less him extending plays and more him starting to extend a play when the play didn't need to be extended. When guys have come at him, he's always effective rolling out. But if no one's coming at him, there's no reason to leave. It's just take your time and go through your progressions. I think that would be my number one piece of advice. But he did have that one throw to Higdon where he rolled out, found him down the field. So he is still able to do that. And credit Wisconsin, they've been good in coverage a lot of the game. Worth noting, Scott Nelson, Wisconsin's starting free safety who was suspended for the first half due to a targeting infraction he sustained last week against Nebraska. He is now back, so he will be playing ahead of Eric Burrow. Dakota Dixon, the strong safety, is still out in this game. So still some issues with the Wisconsin secondary. We'll see if Michigan opens it up more. Or what their play calling is in the second half will be interesting. It's mostly been stuff we've already seen, but a few wrinkles. We saw Joe Milton in the first half. That was surprising.
Just about to say, Alex, I would really like to bring that up, but that's not something Harbaugh's been foreshadowing earlier this year multiple times. I can't recall necessarily the game right now, but he has had the second string was Dylan McCaffrey. Dylan McCaffrey usually trots in there, and then even after that, it's Brandon Peters. So it was very interesting to see Joe Milton come out for that one play.
They obviously like his running ability because we've seen Peters and McCaffrey. Those are the backups. Milton is getting his red shirt. He can play 4 games, and this is only the first he's appeared in, so that's not an issue. But they must like something about him. The play was not well set up. He was met right in the backfield. I don't know if they'll bring that back, but it was definitely an interesting thing to see. Otherwise, it's mostly been a lot of the things we've already seen, but as a whole, it's been effective. Michigan 203 yards in the first half. They just need to execute and finish drives, as we've got about 30 seconds remaining here in the half. The players have now come back out onto the field. Michigan doing their final warm-ups. Good crowd tonight. Student section was a little late arriving, but now it's all filled in. A capacity crowd, everybody here.
And they are bearing the weather. It is currently 41 degrees in Ann Arbor, a chilly night under the lights.
Yet, players mostly just wearing their normal attire. A few got the long sleeves under their jerseys, but otherwise they're running around. They're okay braving the cold. Most of the fans in coats and hats. As we get set now, Wisconsin coming out onto the field, as we mentioned. They will be kicking off. It is their kickoff specialist. Hintz will be the one to do it. Zach Hintz, number 39. He booted it into the end zone his first kickoff. That's the only one he's had today, was after the Wisconsin touchdown. Back deep for Michigan as usual is Ambry Thomas. Blockers all set up. Hintz looks at the official, gets the sign. He stands at his own 26, and he'll run up and boot it away, high up into the air. That one's going to go well into the end zone. Going to bounce right at the edge of the eye for Michigan and go out of the back. So Michigan will get it from the 25. The offense quick to come out there. Obviously just had all their coaching. See what their sets are going to be. Nico Collins had 4 catches in that first half. Peoples-Jones had 3. No one else had more than 1. So they were the main targets. But Nick Eubanks got involved. We saw some Zach Gentry. We saw Oliver Martin. So we'll see how they spread it around here in this in the second half now as they break the huddle. Patterson sets up in the shotgun with Higdon to his left. Wide receivers to the right. Now he moves Higdon to the right. He's also got a tight end on that right side. And they're going to do a play action. Patterson's going to roll to the side. He's in trouble, firing it down the field, looking for Peoples-Jones, who was well into his route, nowhere near, and it's incomplete. Second down.
And there you go, Alex. He was being Patterson was being pursued, but chose to throw it away.
That's what you want to see. It was a quick rusher right into the backfield. Of course, Ryan Connolly was the one who got quickly into the backfield, pursuing Patterson and chasing him around the edge. Michigan's had some issues blocking the linebackers, Connolly and Edwards, that normally falls on the tight ends, and they haven't been quite up to par. A lot of men at the line as Michigan sets up for 2nd and 10. They're going to give it off, a little run. Higdon plowing past a couple tacklers. He's going to fall down at the 30. So that's a solid 5-yard gain. Matt Henningsen on the tackle, and he'll set up 3rd and medium.
And it looks like Grant Perry is going to be coming in for Karan Higdon, and looking like we're going to get another receiver in there for the Wolverines.
Perry's a good slot guy over the middle. Looks to always get open. Collins, they're going to move onto the left side. All their other receivers are on the right. Looks like Gentry out there with Perry and Peoples-Jones. Perry in the slot, Peoples-Jones on the far right, Collins on the far left. Patterson drops back. He's got plenty of time. He's going to fire down the field looking for Collins. There is a flag. That's going to be pass interference on Wisconsin. The ball fell incomplete, but a flag came out, and Collins was very clearly being roughed up.
There is the penalty flag.
Holding. Defense, number 5. 10-yard penalty from the previous first down.
They call it on number 5. I think that was supposed to be number 8, Darren Harrell, or it could be Rashad Wildgoose. They call it on 5. I didn't see him out there, but
I didn't either. I do believe that was a mistake, as number 8 was over there. Almost got that interception as well.
So that's a 5-yard penalty, move Michigan out to the 40, and they give a fresh set of downs. 1st and 10. Patterson now under center. 2 wide receivers, couple tight ends. They're going to do an end around to Peoples-Jones. He's got some room if he can get around McCune, and he does. He's at the 45, and that's exactly where he is knocked out of bounds. They're going to spot him, yep, right at the 45. T.J. Edwards on the tackle. Gain of 5 on that little end around. They just brought Peoples-Jones from the right side to the left. Had to get around McCune, who was careful not to hold. Peoples-Jones turned the corner. Solid gain, so Michigan has 2nd and 5 now upcoming. 13:40 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Patterson under center, Higdon in the backfield. And he's going to give it off to Higdon, who slows down, and then he's dropped after a gain of about 3 or 4. It'll set up 3rd and 1. Looks like Henningsen again on the tackle. So they'll spot it just in front of the 49-yard line, which will bring up 3rd and 1 for Michigan. They had one of these early in the game, and they converted it with ease. No Ben Mason on the field, but Higdon is the single set back. A lot of men at the line of scrimmage. They motion McCune off the line and now bring him from the right side to the left. Higdon in the backfield. They're going to give it to Higdon. He's going to try to run to the edge, and he is not going to get there. The ball's way up in the air, and it is on the sideline. Does Wisconsin pick it up in bounds?
Does not look like it, Alex. It looks like the ball had rolled out of bounds before any Wisconsin Badger could hop on it. But I don't think I've seen a ball go that far up in the air except for on a kickoff.
It was number 7, Reggie Pearson, a backup safety who got his helmet on it. Higdon was right about the line of scrimmage. If he just falls forward, he probably's got the first down. Instead, out comes the punter, Will Hart, who pins Wisconsin on their own 12. And now we've got a flag on the field. Got the refs communicating, huddled right at midfield. We're waiting for the official call. This is in the area where you would expect a holding or a block in the back on the receiving team. It's a long conversation, very long for this type of situation. Man, this has been going on for about a full minute now, and they are showing no signs of breaking.
It obviously must be something.
There are 2 fouls on the play, both against the receiving team. Holding, number 27. That penalty is declined. Personal foul. Roughing the snapper by the defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Wow. Roughing the snapper called on Wisconsin. That's going to give Michigan a first down. Holy cow.
That's not something you hear every day.
That is not. Of course, the long snapper is the most protected position in football. You cannot hit them. And it's 15 yards from the 46, so the referee is walking the ball where it'll be placed on the Wisconsin 41. Or now he's standing on the 40. We'll see where he puts the ball down. But nevertheless, Michigan is given new life. And yep, he's going to put it down right on the 41. Michigan given opportunity here, 1st and 10, to keep this drive alive after a costly personal foul, negating a punt. And the Wolverines, let's see if they can capitalize. Patterson, Mason to his right, Higdon to his left. Patterson play action. He's going to drop back. He's waiting. He's got all day to throw. Now he looks over the field, and that one is almost intercepted over the head of Nico Collins into double coverage. Trying to see Rashad Wildgoose on the coverage.
Shea Patterson was quite nonchalant about that throw, taking his time. He had plenty of time. The pocket was there for him, and he had his eyes locked in over on the right side of the field.
Yeah, he was waiting for Collins, and it is a good throw to put it up in the air. That's where only Collins can get it, and also only where, you know, over the head of the Wisconsin player. Now they're going to hand it off to Higdon. He does a nice cutback. He's at the 30. He cuts it outside, 25-20. And then another cutback inside, dropped at the 16-yard line. Michigan finally breaks a long run, and Higdon delivers.
Great run by Higdon. He's finally able to get through Wisconsin's defense right there with those cutbacks, because sometimes it really is kind of iffy for him as he cuts those back and he can't regain his footwork.
Good blocking from Grant Perry down the sideline. Looks like Travian Blaylock was the one on and the tackle. A number of players down there. So now Michigan's got it at the 16-yard line. This is what we talked about, red zone offense. Can the Wolverines cash in here? And now we've got a timeout coming. Looks like Harbaugh going to talk things over with his guys.
Absolutely, Alex. It's this red zone offense for the Wolverines, because it eats up so much time on the clock to get them to this point, to then be able to just punch it in, get it that touchdown, get those 4 extra points instead of just kicking a field goal, which kicking a field goal has usually been reliable for them with Quinn Nordine, one of the best kickers in the country, but it's better to get more of those points on the board, obviously, as this is a game of points.
So the timeout taken at 11:38 remaining in this second half of action in the third quarter. This was the opening drive of the half for Michigan. They got the ball, got a first down through a penalty, had a 3rd and 1. Higdon fumbled it up in the air, went out of bounds for a loss of 4 yards. Will Hart, very excellent punt, pins Wisconsin inside their own 15-yard line, and then a personal foul penalty on the Badgers was what extended the drive for Michigan, and then on the first down play, Patterson throws incomplete, followed by a long run from Karan Higdon, setting up Michigan inside the Badgers' 20-yard line.
And surely the penalties this entire game really have not helped the Badgers. I mean, rarely do penalties help, but they've had 3 for 30 yards.
Yeah, a couple of costly ones. The crowd very loud right now, saluting the veteran of the game from the Army Air Corps in World War II. Once again, a loud capacity crowd, mostly all wearing maize, some blue, and a smattering of Wisconsin red here and there. Certainly up in the usual visiting sections up at the top by the video screens, but a few interspersed all over, some in the student section, some other places. Wisconsin only about a 6-hour drive from Ann Arbor, so you can imagine some folks made the trek down to Ann Arbor for this big top 15 matchup. The Michigan Wolverines ranked number 12 entering this game, and the Wisconsin Badgers ranked number 15. Both teams with 1 loss, and in some ways it feels like an elimination game for the college football playoff. Certainly for Wisconsin, if they lose this one, there's basically no path for them to make the playoff. So everything left on the line here tonight for these two teams.
Absolutely, and speaking of top 25 matchups today, we had a couple teams fall.
Yeah, we have.
Couple of upsets here. Auburn lost 24-30 to Tennessee. But even in the Big Ten.
Yeah, we were watching it pregame.
Absolutely. What happened, Alex? What happened in the Michigan State-Penn State game?
Michigan State, a team that looked beaten down and broken last week, pull the rabbit out of the hat, defeat Penn State, a back shoulder throw to Felton Davis at the 5-yard line. He ran it in with 20 seconds left. The Spartans defeat Penn State 21-17. Michigan State next week, and that'll be a fun one. But got to get through this one here.
Absolutely, one game at a time.
So Michigan breaks the huddles. We're back now from the timeout. The Wolverines were the only team to take a timeout in that first half, and they only spent one of them. Wisconsin didn't spend any. Patterson comes out in the pistol with Higdon behind him. He's got the split wideouts, Peoples-Jones on the right, Collins on the left. A lot of blockers at the line of scrimmage. 1st and 10, Michigan from the Wisconsin 16. Patterson is going to give it off to Higdon, makes a nice cut upfield, and he's going to fall forward for about 4 yards. Solid gain. TJ Edwards on the tackle.
The All Big Ten 2017 first team.
Caden Lyles as well on the tackle. Well, that's what you like to see from Michigan is consistent rushing attack. Had really trouble getting it going in the first half. That time, you know, that 4 yards on first down is a big boost, and they can now open it up a bit. Still, a lot of guys at the line of scrimmage, however. It's going to be Chris Evans taking it. He goes right up the middle, spinning forward, and he's going to be 1 yard short down at the 7-yard line. Gain of 5. That was Evans on the handoff. And so it's going to set up Andrew Van Ginkel on the tackle. It's going to set up 3rd and short. 3rd and 1 from the 7-yard line. Patterson in the pistol. It's the same formation they've run the last 3 plays out of. And they're going to give it off to Evans. No, Patterson's going to keep it himself. He's at the 5, heading for the corner. Touchdown, Michigan. Shea Patterson running it himself this game. The big run in the first half, and now a 7-yard touchdown scramble. And the Wolverines are up 2 scores.
He's definitely displaying his running capabilities tonight.
Yeah, it was a read option with Chris Evans, and Patterson kept it himself. Now Michigan up 19-7 is going to go for 2 so that they can try to get the full 2 touchdowns up on the Badgers. Watching it on the replay, Patterson pretty clearly broke the pylon, and They're not even reviewing it. Michigan comes out. Higdon in the backfield. The same formation with McCune on the left side. Now they're going to bring Peoples-Jones in motion. They're going to keep it where Patterson's going to throw. He's got a man, and it's converted. Nico Collins on a crossing route in the end zone. Michigan cashes in. They get 8 points this drive, and with 10:21 remaining, our score, Michigan 21, Wisconsin 7.
In no way is this out of the realm for the Wisconsin Badgers to come back and still tie it up, win this game, though. That's still a fairly low-scoring game. And
a lot of time.
Absolutely, a lot of time. We're only we have 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter. There's the fourth quarter left. I think the Wisconsin Badgers have plenty of time to get this thing done as well. Yeah,
they need to just settle down, get a good offensive possession. But we were talking about after the roughing the snapper penalty, could Michigan cash in? They had it on the Wisconsin 41, and they cashed it in all through the ground. A couple good Higdon runs, Evans with the run, and then Patterson finishes it off, the two-pointer to Collins. That's the execution we were looking for.
Absolutely.
So, 10:21 remaining in this third quarter. Both teams huddling up. Michigan finally has the 2-touchdown advantage over the Badgers. Wisconsin definitely is going to have the pressure on them to try to respond in a positive way here with this drive. They've had trouble getting things going. One fluid drive, and that's about it for them. A turnover via Hornibrook's interception. Otherwise, a couple punts. They just haven't had a lot going on today. You got to think they're going to give it to Taylor, and with still plenty of time to go. But we'll see what the Michigan defense can do. They haven't been out there for a while, because Michigan, of course, started this half with the ball, and they ended the last half with the ball. So it's been since about 2:30 left in the first half that Michigan's defense has seen the field and Wisconsin's offense has seen the field.
And taking the field will be Alex Hornibrook again for the second half. Third-year starter for the Wisconsin Badgers. Actually, this is his second time in the Big House.
Yes, it is. He was a freshman starter.
Absolutely. Fell to the Wolverines his first time here. Believe fell last year, too.
No, Wisconsin beat Michigan in Madison last year.
There we go.
Yeah.
In Madison. He does not have home field advantage this time, but he is by no means a rookie anymore.
No, he's experienced.
He's a veteran back here in the Big House.
But Michigan has had his number in terms of interceptions, because in that game last year, Devin Bush had an interception, and then the one back here in the Big House 2 years ago, there were 3 interceptions that game, but of course most famously was the Jordan Lewis one-handed interception. Hornibrook was on the negative end of that play. So Michigan's had some success getting to Hornibrook, even with this vaunted Wisconsin offensive line. So we'll see what happens. The ball has been placed on the tee. They're waiting for the signal from the TV crew, and now they're ready to go. Jake Moody, a freshman from Plymouth, Michigan, getting ready to boot it away. He stands at the 26, where he's got his rushers ready to go. He's got a big leg, and he will run up and boot it away. He's been into this where he drops it short, and that one is dropped on the 15. Wisconsin trying to get a good run, and they get it out just to the 26-yard line. So that's where Wisconsin will start. Aaron Cruikshank, the one on the return.
Looked like there was a little bit of a scuff up down there. Tension's probably running high now between the two teams. Wisconsin frustrated possibly, and Michigan getting a little excited.
So here we go. Out of the huddle come the Badgers. Under center is Hornibrook, who brings man in motion A.J. Taylor, and they're just going to hand it right off to Jonathan Taylor, and he goes right up the middle for a gain of about 3.5. Quiddy Pay on the tackle, and Lawrence Marshall in there as well. Pay starting at one defensive end position because of Rashawn Gary's injury. It's a time for him to fly. Pay's gotten some start the last few weeks, but this is really his first big test against a very, very good offensive line in Wisconsin Badgers. He's held up pretty well so far.
Well, just a lot of expectation for Michigan's defensive line, and he's held that reputation just fine.
2nd and 7 now. Hornibrook in the shotgun, man to his right. And he's going to hand it off, looks like, to the fullback, who's got some running room. And he looks like he got the first down out to the 30, or maybe he might be a yard short. We'll see what the signal is. They're going to spot him, about a half-yard short. It'll be 3rd and inches on the 35-yard line.
I'm not surprised to see the Badgers coming out here and running it as they feel most comfortable, maybe with Hornibrook's interception last half kind of drove them away from that game.
Groshek, the one on the last rush. Now Wisconsin comes out, and they're going to try to run it, hand it off right up the middle, and just getting the first down, powering forward there. A good, strong run from Jonathan Taylor. He gains about 4 yards there out to the 39-yard line. And it looks like we have an injury. A Michigan Wolverine is down on the field. Looks like Tyreek Cannell, I think. Trying to see. They've all sort of surrounded Cannell. The trainers are out there as the clock is now stopped with 8:46 remaining. But a good conversion there for Wisconsin. They set that play up very well and powered it forward.
And this is what they traditionally do. They're going to run the ball, make long drives, and hopefully that results in a touchdown for them. So it's a good start, and it's a good way to start their half of their offensive play. And they're going to their go-to guys, the Jonathan Taylor, who is currently rushing, I want to say, he is the nation's leading rusher.
Yep.
Incredible. Averaging 169.8 yards per game. Now, that might be a little different coming out of this game with the Wolverines' defense, but it's a go-to for the Badgers.
Cannell, it was the player down. He's now up and off the field, and Wisconsin ready to go. First down and 10. They hand it off right up the gut, and that goes very little. 2.5 yards. That pretty much all just the push of the offensive line. Taylor ran right into a battering ram, and so it'll set up second and about 7.5 from the 41.5. The injury, it looked like Cannell kind of got clipped from behind, but they got him up onto his feet and he walked off under his own power. So hopefully Michigan sees him back out there soon. Badgers set up in the shotgun. They went to that a fair bit in the first half. Haven't thrown it yet on this drive. Looks like they're going to. Hornibrook, the lefty, drops back. He's going to fire over the field, and it's incomplete. Ball is too low. He had a man open and just undershot him, threw it at his feet. Intended for A.J. Taylor coming on a crossing route. Looked like Brad Hawkins had been subbed on for Tyreek Cannell, and he was a little tardy on that one. Michigan gets some help from Hornibrook's arms. And now it sets up 3rd and long, 3rd and 7. 7:44 remaining in the third quarter. Michigan leads 21-7. This will be a big stop if the Wolverines can get it. Ball placed on the 42. Badgers need the 49. Michigan showing blitz, and they're going to bring it. Hornibrook's in trouble, but he's still got time. He throws incomplete, and he was looking for the crossing receiver, Danny Davis III. Well covered. He had to try to fit it into a tiny window as Brandon Watson was wearing him like a cheap suit.
Absolutely. That pocket was collapsing, but he did keep his composure, looked for the best read, and I think at that moment that was the best read for him.
And it's not a bad throw. He put it where only his guy could get it, but unfortunately for the Badgers, he was just so well covered that not open. So 4th and 7, and out comes Anthony Lottie for yet another punt for the Badgers, trailing 14, and they're about to give it right back to the Wolverines. Lottie stands at his own 29, and that's where he's going to boot it away. That's a good high kick. Donovan Peoples-Jones going to let it bounce, and it's going to trickle just into the end zone. That was a booming kick, but just out-kicked the coverage, and Michigan will get it from the 20.
We were so optimistic about that drive there, Alex.
Yeah.
The Badgers getting back to it. Hornibrook then trying a couple passing plays. Obviously not his call. Paul Chris is, I'm sure, still dealing with adjusting his offense a little more to the Wolverine defense and to Hornibrook and to his star, Jonathan Taylor.
So we have this break just about halfway through the third quarter. Michigan leads 7 21-7, 7:31 remaining in the quarters. We update some national scores. Virginia leads Miami 13-6. That could be a top 25 upset. Iowa State leads West Virginia 20-14. That could be a top 10 upset. So those are some danger games going on. Around the Big Ten, Maryland defeated Rutgers 34-7. Northwestern got a big win over Nebraska in overtime, 34-31. Ohio State struggled early on today against Minnesota. Their defense still struggling for answers, but the Gophers just simply not a good football team. And the Buckeyes able to prevail 30-14. Notre Dame ran into some trouble, able to prevail against Pittsburgh 19-14 in South Bend. LSU, a huge upset to get themselves back in the CFP picture, defeating Georgia 36-16, a beatdown in the Bayou. And then Oregon knocking off Washington 30-27 in overtime. That's a top 10 upset. So should Michigan win this game, they've got a path to the top 10 of the rankings this next week.
The path has cleared a little more with those top 10 teams going down. Georgia, huge. LSU still has to face Alabama yet this season, but that is a team to keep your eye on.
Yeah, the SEC is always a dangerous conference. Kentucky's played very well this year. Georgia now has one loss. Of course, Alabama, a juggernaut. But LSU gets Alabama at home this year, so that's a big advantage for the Tigers. If they can beat, since they already beat Auburn, and if they can just beat Alabama, which not easy to do, but if they can do it, they've got a path to the SEC title game. So hope still alive for the Tigers, thanks to beating the Bulldogs. And of course, as we mentioned, Michigan State defeating Penn State 21-17.
Talk about a path that's pretty much closed off to the Penn State-Nittany line.
Yeah, they're done.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were
already. It was
already
rough beginning of the season. You have Michigan State. You just had the close loss to Ohio State, and to have another close loss to Michigan State.
You know, Penn State was in a tough spot after losing to Ohio State because they really didn't have a lot of opportunities to get back in the picture, and then, I mean, losing to MSU knocks you out right there. Michigan will see them in a few weeks after the bye week, which comes after Michigan State. It's part of this 3-game gauntlet: Wisconsin, MSU, PSU. This is the first of the 3. Michigan's playing well so far, but still a lot of time to go. The Wolverines get it from their own 20 as they start out of the timeout. Patterson split backs and brings a man across the formation. That's Ambry Thomas he brought across, and he's going to hand it off to Higdon, who's got a nice little hole. Higdon out to the 29-yard line. Andrew Van Ginkel on the tackle. So gain of 9. It'll set up 2nd and short, and a 2nd and 1 down. This is your opportunity to take a shot down the field if you want to. You still have the short yardage down on 3rd down if you want to try to test deep. Michigan hasn't thrown it deep very much.
Absolutely, and they have a quarterback that can air it out.
Yep.
Again, this is a prime opportunity to do so.
They had one deep one to Eubanks, not a whole lot else. They set up at the same formation, and they are just going to hand it off, and now there's some running room at the 40, cutting it back to the 45 and falling down at the 46-yard line. Karan Higdon on the rush. That will go for 17 yards to the Michigan 46. Higdon got a hole, cut it to the weren't able to catch who was on the tackle. Looked like a group of Badgers helping. So Michigan's got 1st and 10 from the 46. Patterson is going to give it off. They continue to run it. It's True Wilson, his first carry of the day, and he picks up only about 1.5.
I love seeing True Wilson come out on the field because he was a walk-on and was just offered a scholarship this fall. He had earned his spot on this team and has seen a lot of playing time actually this season.
Look at this. Dylan McCaffrey is in the formation. He's in the huddle with Shea Patterson. McCaffrey is lining up as a wide receiver on the left side of the field in the slot. We already saw Joe Milton. Here's McCaffrey's opportunity. Now they motion McCaffrey behind Patterson. Now he's running out to the left side. Patterson takes the snap. He's going to throw it to Chris Evans, and that play goes nowhere. A loss of about 2 on the screen. Van Ginkel on the tackle, and that'll set up 3rd and 10. Don't know what that was about.
And McCaffrey's coming back off the field. I was kind of excited about that, Alex. I mean, he has a lot of length. He has, NFL pedigree. I really could have seen something going there, especially with the future of Michigan football. maybe not in him as a quarterback. Maybe it was Milton. So I really wish I could have seen him in a different position.
I would guess that was, a lot of pre-snap formation just to do something fancy. Shea Patterson drops back. Pressure comes. He's just going to throw it away. That's the smart thing to do, and he gets it out of bounds as the pressure came up the gut. So Michigan's going to get ready to punt. Just 5:01 remaining in the third quarter. So Michigan gains some yards, but not quite able to get it into Wisconsin territory. Thankfully for them, they have Will Hart as their punter, and he has been the rocket leg this season, averaging 51.7 yards per punt, entering this game, which was number 2 in the country in most yards per punt. He stands at his own 31, catches the snap, and now he's going to boot that same line drive. That one, maybe too much on it. It's going to go out of bounds over to the right side. We'll see where the referee marks it. Oh, boy, he marks it at the 9. Wow. Terrific punt from Will Hart. Pins the Badgers inside their 10. It's going to have to be a long drive if Wisconsin wants the touchdown now. 4:54 remaining in this third quarter. It's Michigan 21, Wisconsin 7. You're listening to Michigan football on WCBN Sports.
The Wolverines really aren't giving the Badgers any kind of leeway. No, they're not giving anything up, taking this this possession down to the 9-yard line. That's a long drive for the Badgers.
Yeah, Badgers are going to have to really put together a good string of plays here as they start from their own 9-yard line. Hornibrook under center. There is going to be a handoff to the outside. Nice cut there, and just able to get about 3 or 4 yards was Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he made 3 or 4 yards out of a loss of 1 or 2. Michigan was into the backfield. He did a good job to bounce it outside and get something on that play, and now Tyree Cannell is down again. He had sought medical attention earlier, and now he's back hurt. You always want to get back out there and on the field, but he is just not healthy right now. Dinged up earlier and now dinged up yet again. He's laying at about the 11-yard line. Ball was spotted on the 13 for a 4-yard gain for Taylor. Cannell is a senior. He's a veteran leader. He's a captain. But when you're hurt, maybe you just need to take a few plays off. Absolutely.
Let a couple other people. The longevity of his playing is more important, especially to this Michigan defense going on, as we were talking about earlier, into a couple big games coming up. So if they can handle the rest of the Badgers without him, I think that would probably be the best move for the Wolverines moving forward.
Well, and it's not like Michigan hasn't had adversity at the safety position. In the Notre Dame game, Josh Metellus was ejected very early in that contest. It was baptism by fire for Brad Hawkins in that one. That was his first real extended action. And Hawkins then, got a little bit more action in the SMU and the Western Michigan game. So he's seen the field. He relieved Metellus as a strong safety, but he has the capability to play free safety too. So he can do a little bit of everything. We have to think we'll see him. They've got Cannell up and hobbling off the field. I think they're going to want to take him into the tunnel eventually. He's standing over in the corner right by the end zone and trying to walk it off. It looks like something with his leg as he's really hobbling. I think it might be his right leg.
It looks like he's needing assistance from 2 people to make the curve around the end zone.
Yep, he's got 2 helpers there. Wisconsin back out onto the field, 2nd and 6. Hornibrook under center. They're going to give it off in the jet sweep. This worked a lot the first time, and now they've got open running room at the 35, 40, 45, and now pushed out of bounds at the 48-yard line. The Wisconsin Badgers, a 35-yard gain. Brad Hawkins on the tackle, finally pushing him out of bounds, and Danny Davis was the one to take it. Kendrick Pryor did the jet sweep the first time, but that's a huge gain. Finally a play that Wisconsin needed.
And the jet sweep has been working for the Badgers. Again, like those couple times with Kendrick Pryor, Danny Davis, and it's giving them way better field position, taking them from about the 9-yard line.
So they're going to mark it right at midfield. 1st and 10 from the 50. They bring another man in motion. We'll see if they do it again, and they do. Michigan, though, reads it perfectly this time. A gain of only about 1 or 2. Nice tackle. Looked like Hawkins yet again. Winovich in the area as well. Kendrick Pryor, the one with that one. Wisconsin, they have Taylor, and he's so dynamic that Michigan keeps clamping down in the middle, exposing the edges, and Wisconsin's been taking advantage, but much better positioning on that one.
And right, and for Kendrick Pryor, he could use a redshirt sophomore running to the outside. He can't take those stumble steps. He got frozen and started to take those side steps, and that just won't work. 2nd and
8. Hornibrook walks up to his center, Tyler Biadizez, and is going to say something to him. Then he just does a handoff, going around the edge. A good, strong run there from Garrett Groshek. I'm not sure if Taiwan Deal is injured tonight. I don't think we've seen him. No, we did see him. He had 1 rush for 1 yard, but Groshek has been the main backup in this contest. It's going to set up 3rd and 3 for Wisconsin at the 43-yard line. Really more the 42. So 3rd and short. We'll see what the Badgers dial up. 2:47 remaining in this 3rd quarter of action. Michigan leads by 2 touchdowns, but the Badgers now in enemy territory. Hornibrook lines up in the shotgun. Got a man to his left. Looks like his fullback. He's going to drop back. Pressure starts to come. Throws down the middle. Incomplete. Oh, boy. That throw was not close. Pressure started to come. Intended for Danny Davis. Josh Metellus on the coverage. And, wow, Wisconsin's going to punt.
Josh Metellus, David Long, just right there. Some of the best secondary in the country. Making those plays on them would be hard. And you have to be pinpoint accurate and have great hands to even catch those balls in those positions. And
that's a good point. Michigan #1 in pass defense entering this week. Wisconsin 4th and 2 from the 42. Michigan not going to come after the punt. Anthony Lottie boots it away. Peoples-Jones signaling the fair catch, and Lottie puts it in the end zone. Wow. 42, it's going to be spotted at Michigan's 20-yard line, and that's only 22 yards in that field position. And when you're down 2 touchdowns in 4th and 2 and you have Jonathan Taylor, it just feels like Wisconsin should have run that ball. I don't know about you, but that's a little surprising.
Absolutely. Jonathan Taylor came into this season trying, we're trying to figure out, someone's getting carted off the field right now.
It looks like Canala. They got him on the card, I believe.
The hobbling around the backside of the end zone was not working for him as he's carted into the tunnel. Doubt we will be seeing him later on in this game.
They're going to shelve him. I mean, it is true that Wisconsin did punt in Iowa territory several times in the Wisconsin-Iowa game, so it's not that they're not afraid to do it, but they were never trailing by 2 touchdowns in that one. Michigan comes right out, hurrying it up, and now they give it off to Higdon at the edge. 25, he cuts the corner, 30, 35, and he's pushed out at the 36-yard line. Michigan up by 2 touchdowns, wanting to run the clock, handing it off. Higdon gaining yards in chunks right now. Eric Burrell on the tackle. Ball out of bounds at the 36. Another first down for the Wolverines.
Karan Higdon with 15 attempts and 86 yards already this game. He's a surefire person to hand off to.
And they give it off to him once again. He goes right up the middle for about 2.5. That's not as much as they've been gaining on a lot of their rushes, but compared to the first half where it was like running into a brick wall every play, this has been a lot more easy running room for the Wolverines, able to gain 2 or 3 yards on most handoffs. They're going to mark it at the 39 for a gain of 3. Looked like Zach Bond on the tackle, backup outside linebacker.
Looks like Chris Evans checks in for Karan Higdon. Wolverine fans, I'm sure, are excited to see him back.
Yeah, Evans now playing right next to Patterson, who has it in the shotgun. 2 wideouts and a lot of men at the line of scrimmage. They give it off to Evans. He goes powering right up the middle, out to the 45-yard line. A gain of 6 yards, sets up 3rd and 1 now. Andrew Van Ginkel on the stop. 3rd and 1. We haven't seen Ben Mason in this situation a lot tonight. Maybe this is the first time we see him. Last time on 3rd and 1, they ran to the outside. Do they just give it off to a battering ram up the middle? It does not look like it. They're going to have Chris Evans motion next to Patterson. They move him from the right side to the left. Same formation, 3rd and 1. Patterson takes it in the shotgun, gives it off. Well, Evans is all the room he wants, and he gains 3 yards out to the 48. Move the chains. First down, Michigan.
Solid running drive by Michigan, beating the Wisconsin Badgers at their own game.
Yep, just running it right down Wisconsin's throat. Michigan does not have to run another play if they don't want to. Play clock hasn't even started yet because of the first down and only 15 seconds remaining in the third quarter. They're not going to. They're just standing in midfield, pumping up the crowd, getting everyone fired up. It was 13-7 at the half. Michigan gets 8 points in that third quarter. They lead 21-7 at the end of the third quarter. Really fine quarter there from the Wolverines.
Incredibly well done. It's a lot cleaner. I would say that a lot of times they have a lot of penalties that have really struck the Wolverines in the past. It was a really clean, well-executed quarter for the Wolverines.
Yeah, it was a really strong quarter. Defense was there. They didn't allow a lot of big rushes, only the one jet sweep to Danny Davis. Otherwise, they've really clamped down on the rush. Hornybrooks had no time to throw and really hasn't been accurate on his passes. And then the offense, able to run with consistency. They got a little lifeline from that penalty on Wisconsin, the roughing the snapper, and Michigan ran it 41 yards to the house on several plays. They get the 2-point conversion, lead by 2 scores. A clean half, good halftime adjustments here for Michigan. But what do the Wolverines need to do to finish this game off?
I think, Alex, they really just need to keep giving it to Karan Higdon, number 22. Running it seems to really be working for them. Running to the outside, especially when he's able to turn the corner and get downfield, he gets those more of those yards after catch or from the backfield. Chris Evans has been stepping in and doing just fine as well for him. It would be fun to see Shea Patterson air it out a little. Always, they had that exciting play with Eubanks earlier in that game. That's always a great thing to see, and I would just continue running that ball, doing what Wisconsin football better than they are.
Yeah, and I think, when Michigan scored that touchdown at about the 10-minute mark of the third quarter, we both said that there were plenty of time for Wisconsin. Now it's a little bit murkier. There's still time for them to come back, but not nearly as much time as there was. There was 25 minutes when we last said that. Now only 15 minutes remaining in this game. They've got to start to play with a bit more pace, and they're probably going to have to do it through the air, which is something they've struggled with. Cornerbrook only 3 of 10 for 25 yards. They've had no success through the air. They're going to have to change something to come back and win this game. Absolutely.
They can't take these possessions for granted. Michigan's been controlling the ball most of the time.
Yep.
So the Badgers have to come out here and take every possession they can because they have to have those opportunities. They are only down by 2 touchdowns, but they haven't been able to drive down the field.
Yeah, we mentioned at halftime that it was about 17 minutes to 13 minutes Michigan in time of possession. At the end of the third quarter, about 24 minutes to 18 minutes Michigan. As Mr. Brightside sounds in the crowd, everyone's still energized, pumped up here at the end.
And just here, they are still here.
Yeah.
Cold night, long day. I know that night games are always a long day for fans, especially with College Game Day was here on on Ann Arbor's campus. So I know that a lot of these fans have been going since very early, excited for this top 25 matchup.
And if the Wolverines can secure a victory, the party might go a little while longer. But still some work to do for Michigan. 15 minutes put up on the clock. Both teams break their huddle. Patterson sets up. It's a 1st and 10 from the Michigan 48. Wolverines will want to keep the clock rolling and not turn it over. That's pretty much the keys to the victory right here. Patterson's got split backs. Mason to his right, Higdon to his left. He brings McCune from the left side to the right. And he's got 2 wide receivers. They're just going to hand it off to Higdon, who makes a nice little cut right up the middle. And he's going to pick up 5 yards. Matt Henningsen on the tackle. But again, Michigan gaining 3 to 5 yards on pretty much every rush. And it's wearing down the Badgers defense, which has dealt with a lot of injuries. And it's starting to show here. 14:38. And of course, Michigan wanting to run the clock. They're not going to snap a play before about 5 seconds on the play clock. Time is your friend, not your enemy if you're the Wolverines. 2nd and 5 from the 47. Patterson lines up under center. And now he's got Higdon in the backfield, just going to give it to him. Higdon makes an interesting move. Now he's going to go to the outside. He turns the corner, makes a man miss. He's at the 40, and he'll go out of bounds at the 36. I thought he was just going to go up the gut. He bounced it to the outside. Eric Burrell was the one who eventually pushed him out of bounds. There's a man down on the field trying to tell the number. It looks like number 7, Reggie Pearson, who was absolutely shaken there. Pearson went in for the tackle, and he came up very much empty. Higdon made him look silly on the edge, and Higdon turned a potential loss of yardage on the outside to another first down. Michigan will have it on the 35 after the media timeout because Pearson is laying still on the ground. A lot of injuries to safeties. Cannell goes down, and now the safety for Wisconsin, Reggie Pearson, is down.
Well, the Wisconsin Badgers cannot afford another injury on their defense, as it is waning as the season has been going on with injuries to what has been considered a great defense in the past. But it is definitely injury ridden, in the loss of Pearson here as he's hobbling off the field could really affect them. He was the one who got back in the backfield to get Karan Higdon there.
Yeah, he just couldn't come up with the tackle. As you mentioned, the injury is a real issue for Wisconsin. In the preseason, they lost Garrett Brand for the season. Then Isaiah Loudermilk has been off and on hurt this whole season. He was out for this game. Dakota Dixon, they're all Big Ten first team. All first team Big Ten safety. Dakota Dixon is out. Scott Nelson was suspended in the first half. Now he's finally back. But both their corners, Caesar Williams and Darren Harrow, both questionable. Andrew Van Ginkel was questionable coming in. A lot of fatigue, a lot of injuries for Wisconsin. As we just got the attendance up on the screen. 111,360, well beyond the listed capacity. It looks like a packed house, and the numbers confirm it.
Yeah, it's still a packed house. I'm certainly amazed by that. It's a cold one out, but this is a game, and the score really doesn't reflect, I feel like, the battle that it is here. It is low scoring, though, which I think a lot of people were guessing.
Well, I think there was some nerve-wracking moments in that first half, certainly, where Michigan drives their first drive, doesn't get points. You know, the sense that Michigan had not done enough to take the lead, and certainly they could be up by a lot more if they had better execution in the first half, but at the moment they are in command of this game. They just have to figure out how to put the Badgers to sleep here in the fourth quarter. 14-15 remaining in the contest. Michigan 21, Wisconsin 7. Michigan will have a 1st and 10 from the Badger 35 when they break the huddle. You gotta feel like a touchdown here would be a death blow to Wisconsin.
Absolutely, Alex, completely agree, especially with Michigan running the ball, running the clock down. They have about a good amount of space still left to go, and that's time off the clock too.
Yeah, it is. Time is something to watch here in this one. Michigan in this game was almost a 10-point favorite. I believe the final line was 9.5, which was quite an interesting line given Wisconsin is a top 15 team. Injuries were taken into account, and I think a lot of people took into account how well Michigan's played the last few weeks. Steinle starting to get some respect from the national media. If they can finish this one off, they'll probably be in the top 10. Patterson in the shotgun split backs, McCune from left to right. That's been a pretty familiar formation tonight. And of course it goes right to, no, Patterson's going to keep it. He's going to go out of bounds at the 22-yard line, a gain of 13 as he goes around a fine block from Nico Collins before he ducks out of bounds. That's another big pickup in chunks from the Wolverines.
Well, Shea Patterson's legs are definitely going to be sore tomorrow.
Yeah, looked like Rashad Wildgoose was the one pursuing him on the edge. That's an all-time name.
90 yards rushing so far for Shea Patterson in this game.
Yeah, not really what we would expect.
Something we have not seen from him this season.
Patterson now back under center, and he's just going to give it off. Chris Evans takes it, and he runs right into tacklers after a gain of about 1.5. Michigan will just want to keep the clock rolling. It's going to tick down past 13 minutes when they snap it next. Patterson was really a running guy at Ole Miss. You know, really took things into his own hands quite often. Michigan's dealt with QB injuries, all too familiar the last few years. They've been wanting to protect him, haven't asked him to run a lot in these last few games, but really showcasing the speed of his legs and the read option here tonight for Michigan. As they come right out, once again, that same formation. Now they're going to bring Ronnie Bell from the left side to the right, but the split backs, and they just give it off to Higdon. Not a lot of running room. He's going to run right into some Badgers, but he stays in bounds. TJ Edwards on the tackle. That'll bring the clock down to about 12 minutes when they hike it next, but it'll be 3rd and 9 from the 22-yard line for Michigan. You'd like to see him get a few yards and make a field goal more manageable for Quinn Nordine if they do have to kick one.
If they do have to kick one, I'm sure that a lot of people are hoping that they don't have to, again, with their red zone play. It's really important for the Wolverines to get it in the end zone here.
Patterson's going to throw just a screen to Evans. He's got some blocks. He's going to cut it back. He's at the 20, and he's going to fall down and tackled at the 17. Evans tackled by a handful of Badgers. 3 guys laying on top of him. TJ Edwards, one of them. I mean, he's been all over tonight. But that play call from Michigan really looks like they were thinking the same thing I was. You know, hoping if they could get a first down, okay, but definitely making things more manageable for Quinn Nordine, who comes out. It's going to be a 35-yarder. That is right in his wheelhouse. He has not missed a 35 or a kick from 40 or below this season. 4th and 4. The kick is up, and it is good. Nordine puts it through. A good snap from Cameron Cheeseman and a good hole from Will Hart. Nordine puts it through, and Michigan leads 24-7 with 11:36 left in this contest.
Though there was no touchdown at the end of the drive, that certainly was productive for the Wolverines, getting that time off the clock, running some great plays there, getting some rushing yards in for Shea Patterson and Karan Higdon, and ultimately getting 3 points on the board.
Well, and you know that you always want a touchdown. A touchdown probably would have been, again, the death knell there, but at the same time, that was a very strong drive for Michigan. They started at 2:30 of the 3rd quarter, and it's 11:36 in the 4th quarter. So that, you know, almost a 6-minute drive for Michigan in a game where Wisconsin needs now 17 points. 6-minute drive is almost as good as a touchdown.
Absolutely, yep, absolutely. And in the 4th quarter, when your defense is handling the other team fairly well, it works just as fine.
Pretty cool moment right here. We've got a bunch of fans with their phones out, all lighting up Michigan Stadium like the old candle lighters back in the day.
But, you know, millennials want to change it to the cell phones.
Yeah. They had queued up all of the lights to get people to get them out. Now playing Don't Stop Believin' over the PA as people swaying back and forth in the night. No wind at all today. The flag, the American flag in the one end zone, not waving in the slightest. Just a tiny breeze. But this has been pretty much a winless game, and the players have really seen no issues with that. As Michigan leads 24-7. We want to thank you for joining us on WCBN Sports' coverage of Michigan football. I'm Alex Drain, Grace Broyles. It's been a fun one. Michigan just needs a little bit more to finish it off.
Yep, and just a little bit more, and you know, maybe the Badgers will surprise the nation here and get quick. They would have to be driving. They'll have to quick drives, maybe some big plays on defense.
Time is of the essence for the Wolverines. Excuse me, the Badgers. I mean, Wolverines too, taking that into account, but definitely Wisconsin. They're going to need to air it out, and they have not been able to do that today. 3 of 10. Hornibrook, 25 yards and an interception. I mean, it's been about as brutal of a passing day as you could expect. But again, Michigan's defense, #1 in pass defense, entering this game at just 134 yards per game allowed. Right now, they are going to clear that by a lot. Jake Moody to do the kickoffs. He's been doing those short kicks where it forces Wisconsin to catch it at the 10 or the 15. And they try to pin the Badgers deep. Wisconsin's been fielding him pretty well, though. We'll see what he does here. Starts his run up at the 26, and he'll boot it at the 35. Another high looping kick. He's going to plant that one at the 1-yard line. Aaron Cruikshank is going to run it out. Michigan's got tacklers there, and he's brought down at the 15-yard line. Perfect kick coverage from the Michigan Wolverines.
Return the kickoff to the 15-yard line.
Looked like Jordan Glasgow on the tackle. And that's going to pin Wisconsin at their own 15. They're going to have to go 85 yards and in a hurry to try to have time to pull off this 17-point comeback. Michigan sends their defense out there. It's Carlo Kemp and Brian Monet as the tackles. Cody Pay and Chase Winovich on the ends. They put Bush right at the line of scrimmage. Now they back him up. And Hornibrook's just going to give it off to the side. And Jonathan Taylor, good hard run there for 6 yards. But if you're Michigan, you're okay letting him get 6 yards if it takes time off the clock. And now Wisconsin's going to run 4 subs on the field. They're not really playing with a lot of pace right now.
Which is surprising to me. First half, though, Paul Chris didn't take any of those timeouts. Maybe he's going to be more effective with those later in the game.
I mean, the tough thing for Wisconsin is, as we talked about, they're a running team. They're a team that likes to have the lead and bleed the clock, not hurry up. This is not in their wheelhouse. This is not something they're comfortable with. They're going to have to show something they have not showed yet this season to come back and win this game. Hornibrook under center, going to hand it off right up the middle, and Taylor gains about 3 yards. Josh Ross, Brian Monet, all kind of in the pile there. So that'll set up 3rd and 2 from the 23-yard line. And man, Wisconsin really in no rush at all on this drive. 3 more guys run on the field, and they're doing a full huddle. They didn't hike the ball, and now another guy's going to have to run off. They're huddling up with 15 seconds. They got to get a play off. They're going to try to break at the line with 10 seconds. This is going to be a rush to try to get it off. They don't want to have to burn a timeout. Hornibrook's got to hurry. 3 seconds on the play clock, too. And now they're just going to hand it off. No, he's going to do a play action. Hornibrook's in trouble. Throws it up. It's intercepted. 15, 10, 5. Lavert Hill. Touchdown, Michigan. Lavert Hill, a pick 6. Hornibrook hit as he threw. It got up in the air and intercepted. There is a flag in the end zone, maybe a celebration penalty, not sure what it was.
The ref might have been pointing in the direction of Devin Bush, didn't see exactly what he was necessarily doing. He was running around with his helmet off.
We'll get the official word from the referee in a second, but in all likelihood this will stand as an interception return touchdown for Lavert Hill. All the Michigan Wolverines huddling up. They might have to back up and kick the extra point from a little farther out, if indeed it is an after the play was over type penalty. As it stands right now, Michigan has 30 points, Wisconsin 7. We'll see what the ruling is. The referees have been huddling for a while now. Student section on fire, jumping up and down.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct. Michigan, number 10. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Michigan, number 6. That's the first unsportsmanlike conduct foul on each of those players. A single 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff. We will have the try for point.
Well, you nailed it. Devin Bush is the one who gets the first penalty. The second was given to Josh Uche, who was in as a 3rd down rusher.
From up here in the booth, Alex, I didn't see anything that was a little too outrageous.
No, it didn't. I mean, it might have just been taking the helmet off during the play. I don't really know what exactly was the call there. They're not going to back the extra point up, though. It'll probably be enforced on the kickoff. So Nordin will take the extra point. Snap out, hold is good. The kick is up, and Nordin puts it right through. Michigan 31-7. They are really pouring it on right now.
And there's the score from the last drive that really needed to happen to drive that last nail into the coffin for the Badgers. Though there is still 10 minutes left.
It is a lot of time, but 24 points is a 4-score game unless you can convert 2-point conversions.
I'm just an extreme optimist when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
You can always come back. An underdog can always come back. Always make up those 24 points.
Well, the other thing is that, again, we said they were going to have to hurry on that last drive. They did not hurry at all. They took a ton of time. They had you know, the third down play, they didn't hike it till 3 seconds on the play clock, and they were lucky to get it off in that time. A lot of confusion. They don't look organized, don't look well coached right now. Paul Christ has got to get his guys back going, as we got Sweet Caroline playing over the speakers. And looks like a conversation going on between, oh no, it's Tyree Cannell coming out of the locker room. We had our spotter there telling us something was going on in
Not just coming out, Alex. He was running and spinning on his way back across the field to the Michigan sideline.
Yeah, he looks healthy, but at the same time, if you're up, I mean, if it gets to a point where it looks like Michigan's going to win for sure, I'd almost rest him just to make sure he's healthy for MSU, because that right now is one of the biggest games on your schedule, and it's next week.
Yeah, and there only being a week of downtime between then, that being an away game, it would probably be the smartest thing to for Don Brown, Jim Harbaugh, to rest him for the rest of the game, especially since the defense is doing just fine. But speaking of Michigan's defense, that was a great play on Lavert Hill's side. But what about Alex Hornibrook there? It looked like he just did a hook pass like you should in basketball.
Yeah, he forced it, and there was good pressure for Michigan. Give him credit for that. Hornibrook forced that ball, and Lavert Hill intercepts it, an easy run in for the touchdown. And we said this earlier, Alex Hornibrook now, I believe, 6 interceptions in his career against Michigan, 3 in 2016, 1 last year, and now 2 tonight. Wolverines have had his number over the years, and they've still got 1 more year of him.
And there must be something about the Michigan defense. He has had 2 interceptions earlier this year, and then he just had 2 in this game. Whether it's Michigan's defense putting pressure on him or the stage. I mean, honestly, the big house tonight is rocking. It's very loud, and maybe he's not used to that.
So, of course, the penalty tacked on will make Michigan kick it short. So, at the very least, Wisconsin's going to get pretty good field position out of this. Jake Moody standing just about the 20-yard line. That's where he's going to have to kick off from. So, if you're Wisconsin, you at least like this field position that you can potentially get from this. We'll see how Moody goes about kicking it, because he's got a monster leg. He can boot it as far as he wants. Aaron Cruikshank, the man back deep for the Badgers, is standing on his own 12-yard line, definitely feeling the potential for Moody to just blast one as far as he can. Moody, the walk-on freshman, they brought in just for kickoffs, and he hits a line driver right at the 30-yard line and falling on it, and no return possible. That's probably a good kick for Moody, just settling for a 30-yarder. And the truth is, it was a 15-yard penalty, but in terms of field position, that's only a 5-yard difference, given that they would have probably started on the 25. Instead, they'll get it on about the 30. So,
right, absolutely. But the Badgers need to take anything they can get right now.
Yep.
Those 5 yards can mean a lot, especially when they keep running the ball. And it is those 5-yard gains, one after the other, and those eat up time. So 5 yards at the end of the day will really help them, and they need to take that opportunity.
So 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line. That's where Wisconsin gets set up. Hornibrook walks up to the line, sets the protection at his offensive line, and now he drops back, gets ready for the shotgun snap. He takes it, he's going to throw, and it is incomplete. Looked for a man about 6 yards downfield. Good coverage there. Looked like David Long on the coverage, intended, I think, for Danny Davis.
And you just got to watch Hornibrook in the pocket there is really getting frantic. But definitely his throwing motion is fast, and it's being a little rushed, a little sloppy.
Yeah, it was Jake Ferguson on that intended pass. 2nd and 10 now from the 30-yard line. Hornibrook gives it off, going right up the middle. Good, strong run there. It looked like Garrett Groshek, who has been the number 2 back for Wisconsin. Aiden Hutchinson on the tackle. Hutchinson, true freshman, rotating in at the other defensive end spot across from Chase Winovich. Has
gotten a little bit of time this year. He must have shown, he was not an early enrollee, came in the summer, really shown great work as Harbaugh has been putting him in and getting some time.
If you're playing as a true freshman on this defense, speaks well about your potential. 3rd and 2 from the 38. They just handed off right up the middle. Groshek not going to get it. He's going to be 1 yard short or maybe about 2 yards short. I think no gain on the tackle. Devin Gill is in there, and now, oh boy, you got to think Wisconsin has to go for it on 4th and 2. I mean, that was their bread and butter in this game. Oh boy, now out comes the punt unit. Wisconsin all but conceding this game as Anthony Lottie comes out onto the field, trailing by 24 points. Lottie stands at his own 24. Peoples-Jones back deep for the Wolverines. Lottie catches the snap, and he's going to boot it away. High drive. Peoples-Jones comes over, takes a weird bounce, and he makes sure to tell his blockers not to get near it. It's down at the 31-yard line, so Michigan gets the ball back, up 24 points, 8:27 remaining in this game.
And Alex, the Badgers did exactly what we said they shouldn't do in that last possession, not taking advantage of that field position, throwing the ball. You know, like you said, the bread and butter. They could have had more potential with that.
Well, and the other weird thing about that is I know Garrett Groshek is a bigger guy, but boy, on 3rd and 2, how do you not give it to Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, exactly. You give it to the guy on your team that was in the Heisman and could very potentially still be in the Heisman, except for he is getting shut down by Michigan defense. But if I were a coach, and I'm not a Michigan or a college coach by any means, but I would give it to my Heisman candidate at that point.
Yeah, so as we look at the overall stats, this might be the best game of the season for Michigan's defense. I mean, they were dominant last week against Maryland, but Maryland is not a great team. Wisconsin had a top offense in the country, clicking like it's never been before, and 208 yards allowed so far in this one, just 25 through the air for Michigan. They have been very, very good.
Yeah, Alex, it's a testament to Wisconsin's offense has come out in this game and hasn't performed as well as they traditionally have. They haven't scored less than 21 points the entire season, with their loss to BYU 24-21. But other than that, it's 34, 45, 28, 41. I mean, they've been putting up big numbers on the board. But there's just something about the Michigan defense that's been holding them.
Yeah, and I will say that Michigan, over the years with Harbaugh as their coach, have had pretty good success against Wisconsin, at least defensively. In 2016, they held Wisconsin to just 7 points. Doing that again here today, even last season. They were very strong against Wisconsin defensively until late in that game when Hornibrook made some really great throws and ended up pulling Wisconsin into the victory in that one. But they've had a routine, and it's been successful over the years, and it's working out again here tonight.
Right, and this year, you know, the reins have been kind of taken more away from Alex Hornibrook, given to the running game. Jonathan Taylor, you know, rightfully so. But I feel like that transition has really come to be shown here, that it has its cracks.
Yeah. So out come the Wolverines offense. Got to think it's going to be a lot of running here now for Michigan. Shea Patterson is standing right behind his offensive line. And, you know, for everything we can say about Michigan's offensive line, especially early in the year against Notre Dame, they've held up very well tonight, given Patterson a lot of time to throw on most plays. True Wilson, the running back, in here now for Michigan. They put a lot of guys at the line of scrimmage, 7 men at the line, 2 tight ends, 1 on each side. And Patterson's going to take the snap, just gives it right off to True Wilson. He goes up the middle for about 3 yards. At this point in the game, if you're Michigan, the only really thing you have to do, don't fumble. That's as easy as it gets. Matt Henningsen on the tackle. No
turnovers, actually, for the Wolverines tonight so far. It's something that not necessarily always happens for them. This couple interceptions when Shea gets in that gunslinger mentality.
Yeah. So Michigan now 2nd down and 6, 8 minutes to go. Patterson under center. He's waiting down till 5 on the play clock, and that's where it is. He'll just give it right off. True Wilson goes up the middle. Great running there from True Wilson. A gain of 5 out to the 41. It'll set up 3rd and 1 from the Michigan 41-yard line. Darren Harrell and Eric Burrell on the tackle. So it'll be 3rd and 1 now for the Wolverines. Patterson getting ready to take the snap. Looks like Wilson again. They're going to give it right off to him. He's got a first down and more out to the 50-yard line. That's a 9-yard gain. Continuing to just hammer it forward, in Michigan really moving the chains now. Keep that clock rolling, under 7 minutes remaining.
Oh, this is for sure promising for the Wolverines, as Cron Higdon is a senior and he'll be leaving at the end of the season. So it looks like Harbaugh is kind of giving the reins over to True Wilson, putting him in here with about 7 minutes left in the game to transition their new running back possibly for the next season.
Patterson now back under center, 6:25 remaining. He winds the play clock down to 3 seconds, and he takes the snap and just hands it off. True Wilson was running into traffic, and so he put on the brakes, redirected the other way. Good stop there from Matt Henningsen after only 2 yards, but that burns off 40 more seconds, and this clock just keeps rolling, and Michigan can taste victory at this point.
And there's no energy on the Wisconsin sideline. No hurry up energy. No hype to get this defense to stop the Wolverines.
So Patterson now comes back out as they continue to just let the clock roll, very content to let the game unfold the way it's currently unfolding. 2nd and 8, and they just hand it off once again. True Wilson right up the middle, gain of about 3.5 to the 44-yard line, give or take. A lot of Badgers there in on the tackle, but that'll kill 40 more seconds. Christian Bell looks like the official tackler, and now Wisconsin finally takes one of their timeouts. So with that timeout, both teams will huddle up. Clock is stopped at 5:25 remaining.
Alex, why do you think Paul Chryst is calling this timeout right now? What is he going to try to tell his players?
Get a stop. Yeah, I mean, at this point, all he can hope for is to try to stop Michigan. I mean, obviously the Wolverines would come out and punt and give your offense another chance, but a very strange coaching game from Chryst. He's made some odd decisions in this one.
Some odd decisions. He's been fairly quiet, not a lot of timeouts, not a lot of interference in the game. He's kind of let it unfold, as you said, the way it has been unfolding.
We're being told another injury, number 55, Christian Bell, is limping around on the field. So not great news for Wisconsin as Michigan comes right back out. 3rd and 4 at the 44-yard line. And now it's McCaffrey in the game. He's going to keep it himself. He's got running room. He's at the 35, turns the corner, 25-20 down the sideline, 15-10-5, touchdown, Dylan McCaffrey. Wow.
He has wheels just like his older brother.
Yeah, and just like Shea Patterson, it's been a game of quarterback running tonight. Dylan McCaffrey torching the Badgers defense, and this one is getting out of hand at the Big House. Michigan leads 37-7, extra point pending. Just a read option. They sub McCaffrey on. He turns the corner and outruns all of Wisconsin's defenders. This is a demolition right now. So out comes Nordine. He kicks it up and he kicks it through.
I'm sure Dylan McCaffrey excited to get that in there. I know that he has some family here this weekend. Excited for them to see that.
Good block from Sean McCune, by the way. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, running down the sideline, he knew exactly. Great, footwork. He was real close up there on the Badger sideline and was able to get away from those defenders.
Well, there was the game against Nebraska, I believe it was, where McCaffrey had like an 80-yard touchdown run, got called back on a questionable holding call. Finally gets his touchdown run right there, and if Shea Patterson does decide to leave after the season, Michigan will probably be in very good hands with Dylan McCaffrey out there.
Dylan McCaffrey jumping Brandon Peters, the junior, for second string right now and possibly starting next year.
Well, you know, Peters is a fine pocket passer, but McCaffrey's legs is what differentiates himself from Peters. Peters, you know, he can run. He's not Peyton Manning, but he is certainly not what Dylan McCaffrey is, and that speed we just showed off is why he's now the backup and the heir to the throne as Michigan's quarterback. As Jake Moody does another kickoff, 5:16 remaining. Aaron Cruikshank is just going to call for a fair catch. We've been told that West Virginia has been defeated by Iowa State in Ames, Iowa tonight, so that's another top 10 defeat. Michigan a chance to really move up in the standings, because if we take a look at this week's top 25, Georgia has lost, West Virginia has lost, Washington has lost, Penn State has lost. That is quite a few teams in that top 25, 6, 7, 8, and 2 in the top 25, all going down here today.
Yeah, halfway through the season, there's been a real shakeup going on. Teams getting weary.
And UCF had to, as we got the play now started, Hornibrook rolls out to the side, he gets hit hard, and it's incomplete. Looks like Winovich hit him hard from behind. As I was looking up the UCF score, who had to recover against Memphis to win their game. Hornibrook incomplete. He had the pocket collapse, rolled out to his right side, and Winovich, a heat-seeking missile from behind, brutalizes him from the backside. Hornibrook's pass incomplete. We've been told that he has not completed a pass since the second drive of the game. Hornibrook, really a tough night for him. Jumping off sides for a split second was a Michigan defensive end. Couldn't catch the number, but they don't call anything on him. Hornibrook drops back, throws over the middle. That one's too high. Boy, he is just out of sync. It looked like Josh Uche was the one that had jumped off. The pass intended for Danny Davis III, but way too high, and Hornibrook has got to find something to get himself back in sorts.
Something, anything at this point. Maybe getting a good drive going with Jonathan Taylor again, but it seems like the Wolverines have got that locked down.
So 3rd down and 10 from the 25-yard line. Wisconsin has not yet gotten a yard on this drive. 5:05 remaining in the game. Hornibrook takes the pass and he drops back to throw. Pressure comes, he's in trouble, waits, fires down the field. He's got a man open. Is it inbounds? No, it is not. The referee signals that the receiver running down the sideline was out of bounds. Devin Bush, the one on the coverage. Looked like Garrett Groshek, the running back, running a wheel route down the sidelines. He was not in bounds. Did look like he made the catch, though. We have to see. Once again, Michigan bringing pressure. Yeah, Groshek's feet were out of bounds when he caught the ball.
They were out of bounds when he caught the ball, and it looked like he was pushed out of bounds right before he caught the ball. Probably would have been an ineligible receiver at that point. He would have been eligible to grab it.
Yeah, it's a good hip check from Devin Bush running down the sideline. 4th and 10. This is Wisconsin's last stand if they have anything left. Hornibrook drops back. Pressure comes around the edge. He's going to roll out to the side. He can run with it if he wants. He's going to hurl it down the field. He's got a man open, and he's complete down to the 39-yard line. Jake Ferguson got open, and Hornibrook pulls a little Shea Patterson himself, extending a play and throwing almost just a Hail Mary up into the air. It is caught for a gain of about 35 yards, and now we do have an injury on the opposite side of the field. Looks like David Long is a little nicked up.
And David Long's been out there running down with those Badger receivers. I'm sure he's tired. The Michigan defense has been out there making a lot of big plays, and they've been out there a fair amount.
So, as Long is down, we have yet another timeout. 4:48 remaining in this game. Michigan still leads by quite a bit. Not a big concern, up 38-7, but that was finally Hornibrook completes a pass down the field, and he had to really make a play in order to do that. His pocket collapsed, does a good job extending a play, and finds a guy open down the field.
Absolutely, and with time whittling down, we were talking a lot about possession earlier, Alex, and Michigan has had possession of the ball for 12 more minutes in this entire game than the Wisconsin Badgers, and that's practically a whole quarter. So just mentally for the Badgers not to have their hands capable and on the ball to make these touchdown plays, has probably have to help with that mentality too.
So Hornibrook drops back. A lot of pressure coming in his face as he sets up a little screen. Nice pass complete. Spinning and bouncing out of tacklers. Garrett Groshek. Really fine catch and run down to the 30-yard line. That's a gain of 9. Wisconsin now finally playing with the tempo they should have been playing with 25 minutes ago. 2nd and 1 from the Michigan 30. Wolverines defense trying not to let up. Hornibrook in the shotgun, Groshek to his right, and now a rusher comes off the edge. Hornibrook does a good job to evade the rush. He's going to fire it down the field, up into the air, and it is almost intercepted. Diving was Ambry Thomas. Looked like intended for Kendrick Pryor.
Yep, and Michigan defender Galik Hudson was back there giving Alex Hornibrook a hard time, chasing him out of bounds, where then he had to give up that ball into the end zone where it was out of reach of the Badger. And
not a bad throw from Hornibrook, but 2 men in the area, not the most advised, but he's got to try to find some way. I mean, even just at this point, he's probably not going to win the game and lead a comeback, but just to get some confidence as he drops back on 3rd and 1, fires down the field. He's got a man open with some space, and it's complete down to the 3-yard line. Kendrick Pryor, ever so slight room with Lavert Hill trailing him. Pryor hauls it in down to the 2-yard line. That is an excellent throw from Hornibrook. I mean, Hill is right there. That throw can only be in one spot, and he puts it right in it. After a long day at the office for Hornibrook, finally getting some confidence back on this final drive. A couple NFL caliber throws. Hornibrook drops back, throws on a slant into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown, Wisconsin. With 3:47 remaining, it was complete to A.J. Taylor, covered by Lavert Hill. Just a quick little slant. It looked like it had 2 guys going the opposite way, one slant going one way, one slant going the other, crisscross, and the pass complete. Hornibrook has good accuracy. He just hasn't responded to the rush well tonight. Finally taking his time, making some accurate throws, and Wisconsin gets back on the board.
Yeah, that was a great drive for Alex Hornibrook. A little, as we were saying, a little late in the game for this, for him to be settling into his abilities to throw and make those great passes.
And now they're going to go for 2. They throw a little pass, and it is incomplete, or it's complete, but not going to get the 2-point conversion. Looked like Pryor, and there was a couple men on the tackle. Ambry Thomas, one of them. So Wisconsin's going to be dropped with 13 points on the board. Michigan 38-13 lead. 3:47 remaining in this one. It's all but wrapped up, much the way Ambry Thomas and Galik Hudson wrapping up the Wisconsin receiver.
And finally, the Michigan fans are starting to file out of the big house as there are big gaps in the stands. I'm thinking they probably think that the Wolverines have this one locked in as a W in the record book. But that last drive, I believe, was promising by Alex Hornibrook. If not tonight, going into the season, I know that Wisconsin still has some big games coming up. They still have Penn State at Penn State in Happy Valley. I mean, that's never an easy environment. Though Michigan State was able to pull it off today, but you know, and Northwestern. They still have to play Northwestern at Northwestern, and they've been putting up some real good fights lately as well.
So 3:47 left in this game. Wisconsin, of course, going to try the onside kick. It's their last hope. Michigan getting ready to field it. Lining up to do it, and now a timeout is going to be called. Looks like Harbaugh, along with his special teams coach, Partridge, want to talk about how they're going to approach this one, as the place kicker, the kickoff guy for Wisconsin is Zach Hintz. He was lining up, getting ready to boot it in the onside kick, but we will wait a few minutes as both teams huddled up. Referee's going to try to get this huddle to break a little earlier. 3:47 left. Not much doubt in the result of this contest. Zach Hintz. Or they maybe switched out the kicker. Different name was read. That one goes up into the air. Bouncing in. Going to be finally grabbed down by the Wolverines at the 48-yard line. Nico Collins, who had been subbed onto the field because of his big size, 6'4", 218 pounds. He skies up into the air to grab that on the first hop, and Michigan will take over in Badger territory, just trying to run the game out. Yeah, that was a really fine basketball play because the Wisconsin player was right there, and that was definitely past the 10 yards, but Collins getting way up into the air.
And it seems like the Michigan fans are trolling the Wisconsin Badgers. I think they're playing jump around, which is a tradition in Camp Randall Stadium.
Yeah. So now Michigan comes out just ready to try to run this game down. Under center and handing it off for, that'll be a loss of about 2 yards. Dylan McCaffrey still out there as the quarterback. Christian Turner, the one with the ball. 2-yard loss for Turner, brought down by TJ Edwards. You know it's a blowout when you've got your backups out there for the Wolverines.
And a freshman running back, a very important position for the Wolverines throughout this game, throughout their offensive schemes.
And Michigan's now going to have to burn their third and final timeout as they had too many men in the huddle. That's the consequence of having some backup dudes out on the field, is you get mixed up. Jared Wangler, the backup fullback, looked like he was out there when he was not supposed to be out there.
Jared Wangler, though, just getting his first touchdown just the other week.
Yep, last week.
Just last week. And Wangler, if that sounds familiar to you, definitely a big name in Michigan football. With his dad quarterbacking, I believe it was John Wangler, back in the day, being a really successful quarterback here, and his daughters and sons have all gone to Michigan.
Michigan family, they play jump around once again. Everyone who is still here, a lot of the Wisconsin fans look like they have exited the visitors section up in the upper reaches right by the Jumbotron screens, have left. Most all Michigan fans still in attendance, however. And wow, Joe Milton is the one in this game now. He is the quarterback. Well, they already used him once in this game. They can use him as much as they want for one game, so might as well do it. Milton is going to hand it off to Turner. No, yeah, he is. Turner turns a corner, and he's at the 45. He's going to fall down at the 40-yard line. Christian Turner, a good, strong run there for Michigan. That gets him out to the 40-yard line. Recoups 10 of those yards. It'll set up third and short. Turner, a freshman running back, 5'11", 200 pounds, from Buford, Georgia. He's a guy they talked about as potentially being the number 3 back. Got hurt in training camp. They like Drew Wilson's blocking, but we'll see more of him next year after Karan Higdon has graduated. So good to see him getting some reps. Milton, still the quarterback, or no, they brought McCaffrey back in, and they're going to hand it off right up the middle for a gain of 3 yards. That moves the chains. Omari Samuels was the running back. So, man, Michigan really rotating all their backs into this contest as Turner comes back on. And now number 46 coming out onto the field.
And it looks like Milton trotted back out there.
Yeah. Matt Brown, backup fullback, is now out there. 2:10 remaining. Michigan just throwing all kinds of weird surprises. Milton, the quarterback, once again. He's got Turner to his right, and that fullback, Brown, to his left. They bring a tight end. Looks like McCune is still in the game, and they're just going to give it off. Turner, not a lot of running room. A few Badgers, TJ Edwards among them, bringing him down. And now the clock is under 2 minutes remaining, setting up the play clock to tick it down to about 1:10. You're just about the point where you could do a couple kneel downs. No reason for Paul Chryst to take his timeouts. As we get ready for 2nd and 10 from the 37-yard line, Michigan has to hike the ball at 1:14 of the game when they do it next. Milton in the shotgun. Turner to his right, but a lot of men at the line of scrimmage. and they bring Oliver Martin across. Milton's going to keep it himself, does a great job to sidesteps 2 guys. Now he runs around the other edge. Milton's got room to run if he can turn the corner. He does. He's at the 25-20, cuts it back, 15, 10. He's down to the 13-yard line. Joe Milton, a 24-yard scamper as he got to the edge, got a block, and now Milton is coming off the field. They're going to sub McCaffrey back in with 1 minute remaining. No reason to try to press for the touchdown. But 55 seconds remaining in the game. But wow, we've seen McCaffrey run it, we've seen Patterson run it, and now Milton, 3 quarterbacks for Michigan, all just torturing the Badgers defense. And now Michigan gonna do, I think, the sportsman-like thing, which is to kneel it down. They're gonna hike it under 40 seconds, which means this is the final play of the game. McCaffrey under center, he takes the snap, he kneels it down, and the final seconds will tick away. The crowd fired up. Michigan players coming off the sidelines, jumping up and down, and giving each other hugs. With all the lights, all the attention, trying to finally win a big game, and the Wolverines win a big game in big fashion, as the final score will read Michigan 38, Wisconsin 13. An absolute demolition of the Wisconsin Badgers here tonight in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
And I don't think anyone is expecting it to be that kind of game tonight, Alex. It really ended up being a lot more one-sided than a lot of people thought, with Wisconsin only scoring 13 points, but Alex Hornibrook getting into tempo, getting those passes in at the end of the game. But the Michigan defense just really held in there, was able to put pressure on Hornibrook, and was able to contain Jonathan Taylor, an amazing running back that has no doubt has incredible potential, but and has had an amazing season so far, and I believe will have going on into their later games. But Michigan came out on top, their offense clicking more than it has even in the past games. And Alex, well, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? It was right. Am I wrong saying that it was something that not a lot of people were expecting it to be this one-sided?
Well, I mean, the spread at 10 points was certainly indicative of confidence in Michigan, but absolutely a 25-point blowout. Not really what a lot of people were expecting, especially, I mean, we know Wisconsin's defense worn down, injury-ridden, but I think the most surprising thing was how dominant Michigan's defense was, absolutely shutting down Wisconsin all night long, not allowing them any success whatsoever. 283 total yards for the Badgers, and that's an offense averaging, entering this game, the Badgers were averaging 480 yards per game. Michigan holds them nearly 200 yards under their average. A dominant effort from this Michigan defense, and of course, in terms of passing, Hornibrook only 100 yards through the air, and a lot of that once the game was not in doubt. A few of the Wolverine players had gone up into the student section and were doing the hail to the victors, but now they have all exited the field, except for a few standing out in midfield, as everyone else heading into the locker room, and the players and fans all headed out after a very, very successful game. And if you're Michigan, you bring a lot of confidence into East Lansing next weekend. Yeah, and they've needed that throughout the season with those close wins. They just had a close win against Northwestern. And I mean, they ended up blowing out Maryland, but, you know, it's those slow starts that haven't really been helping them. Always being able to kind of pull it off in the end. But, Alex, I kind of want to talk about that ending there where you or just the whole quarterback situation with Michigan. They brought in Joe Milton and Dylan McCaffrey, all of them demonstrating their ability to run, to scramble, make plays, but then make those big running plays afterwards, something you don't traditionally see from a Michigan quarterback. Harbaugh really likes those pro-style quarterbacks, the tall, the lanky, you know, your Wilton Spate, your Jake Rudock, that don't necessarily have the wheels but are good passers. So what are you thinking about that? I will say that, you know, Harbaugh absolutely does like his tall pocket guys, but, you know, he's a guy that's willing to adapt, and when he's given someone who has a skill set to use his legs, he's willing to do it. I mean, remember, in the NFL, he went from Alex Smith, who is a little scrappy runner, but not much of a running guy, and he totally remodeled his offense to suit Colin Kaepernick's skill set when he was the quarterback in San Francisco, and he did that mid-season. So Harbaugh knows how to switch the playbook from a pro style to a more rushing attack. And we didn't see a lot of this running the first 6 weeks. They've said that they had left a lot of stuff in the playbook for the second half of the season. Got to think we're going to be seeing a lot more read options the rest of this year.
Yeah, especially since how they went tonight. And then you also had Shea Patterson getting a little bit more air under that ball, passing it. But going back to the basics, what Michigan does well, you're giving it to Karan Higdon, you're giving it to True Wilson, you're getting those 5-10-yard plays. But, I mean, it's working. They chewed up some of the clock. They were making those drives, and they adjusted after halftime when they were making it into the red zone but not pushing it into the end zone. But they made those adjustments. Still having to kick those field goals, but it's pretty confident when you have Quinn Nordine coming in to do that you're going to get points on the board.
Well, that'll just about do it for us here from the Big House. A resounding victory for the Michigan Wolverines. They advanced to 6-1 on the season. The Wisconsin Badgers dropped to 4-2. It was a fun game. A lot of offense for Michigan. Definitely a one-sided affair. Want to thank Nate Sorensen and Austin Falco for doing the call in the first half. Andy Laidlaw for us down in the studio in WCBN Sports, allowing this broadcast to go on the air. So a big thank you to him. From Grace Broyles, I'm Alex Drain, saying good night and go blue.